USL. One is playing in England. If I'm the coach, while I agree with Cranky's disagreement,
Me soon let you in, guess. Me soon let you in. We just want the money's finished.
If I am the coach, watch me. If I am the coach, because this player is just signed a contract, he's in the Manchester United setup, as an example, hypothetically speaking, he's there already. Listen, this USL player, same Jamaican, and I have a game, I would play the one in the USL because it gives him the opportunity, hopefully, to move from there to the league that Manchester United is playing in. Because the other player is there and they have the same quality, the same output. If the other player is better, obviously he's going to play. It was a hypothetical. It had nothing to do with the present national team. It had nothing to do with the failure of the team. It had nothing to do with Coach Theodore Whitmore. And if Cranky's honest, he will tell us that. The point was just Cranky asked a question. So I don't know how the thing has evolved into all of these other things.
But what money?
Coach, you must let me just write off money.
No. We have the guests in the waiting room. We not give nobody. Me alone I got talk because you see interesting.
You don't have to talk, man. But money have to rub off money.
No, well, let me say something. Me and Manning share the same sentiments about the local player. And all not attack me. Don't attack me today.
Yeah, save Manning tonight.
Don't attack me. Make the show nice. Hold on, I'm bring in the guest. I'm gonna bring in the guest.
Save Manning's. I'm a dog today.
We can't take it up tomorrow, man. So we have show tomorrow, but the guest is here, people. People. Welcome, Mr. Speid. So.
And it all falls flat.
Yeah, man. All right. So some things talk up last night. I'm glad to say almost the same people end up on the panel. You know?
Coach, before you start, Mr. Speid, is your phone working? Is your phone fully charged?
Is your phone charged?
Is your phone charged? Your phone, is it fully charged?
Man, me use it.
Make sure it's charged first. I don't want to drop off. And make sure that computer plug in, coach. Make sure my computer plug in, coach. Make sure it's plug in.
Laptop.
So, Mr. Speid is here too. We can't say to clear the hair. Yeah? So, Mr. Speid, welcome to the show again. How is everything,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So, people, some things were spoken of last evening, but we are going to get into the meat of the matter. So,
I would love to hear his views on what, Money's man just said.
I didn't hear you.
That was the third person now.
So, Manny's, you speak so in that format, eh?
What format? I'd love to hear Mr. Speid.
You're in the third person.
Yeah, you're in third person. Anyways, Mr. Speid, as we say, welcome you again to the show.
Thank you.
Basically, the first things first, we are going to ask you some more questions, and you are going to clear the ear on some things too. And the people in the comment, they know that them always have questions to ask you. We have 370 odd people on. So and it's a 3-hour mark of the show, so you know the show right. See, a man starts to speed out already.
There's no mark on the show, coach. This has to go to the end, extra time and everything.
Well, I know cataract. Well, I know 1 hour left for that show.
No. All penalty shootout. All penalty shootout tonight.
Well, it depended on Mr.
2 hours, coach. 2 hours.
It depended on
2
Mr.
hours
Speid.
left in the coach.
Anyways, Mr. Speid.
Yeah, man.
What pushed the technical committee to? Well, that's probably an easy question, but just to lighten it up and soften it up, I go with that question there. What allowed the technical committee to make the decision that they made in terms of the dismissal of the coach for the voting? And you can't tell why 2 people in a vote.
I wouldn't do that to them. Once the vote is like that, then is all of us vote for it, because it's majority carry all the time. But we review every coach performance ever since I've been the technical committee chair. Nobody spend the federation money, go abroad and come back, and we don't assess what they have done. So it's not like it's something new, it's something that we have always done. So every single tour, we have to get a report from the coaches, respective coaches. We assess and we decide where we go forward. So some of them you don't even hear anything about. You just notice that this coach is not coaching the under 17 anymore, or not coaching the under 20, or them contract expired, or you don't hear nothing about it. But we do it all the time. So it's not new.
Okay. And we heard that this recommendation have been made from the end. You people had made recommendation at the end of Gold Cup that the coach was to be cut. Is there any truth to that?
Look here, we did have that. No, not everybody on the committee was of the same view. There was a significant amount of persons, but not everyone.
Okay. And in terms of the new coach now, interim position, could you elaborate on that a little bit? What is it a case where it can go after? What is his position with QPR and this situation? Just tell us.
He's still working with QPR, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it's a modern world. So, but they have agreed, and they had agreed before he became the head coach that he will get all the time that is necessary for him to work for us.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that is one of the reasons why we went for another assistant coach. So some of the groundwork will be done by the assistant coach. I remember we have a whole department of managers, not just Mr. Simpson alone, that also will help out with other things. We have people who deal with booking separately from the management role. So we have a team, in administration that makes life easy now for any coach who comes in to take over.
In terms of the other personnel of the coaching staff, can you give us some insight on who is going to be the assistant coach? Will Paul Hall have the leverage of selecting his own assistant? Anything of the sort?
Well, there's no. Well, what we try to do, I mean, I know there's different views. What we try to do is to keep the team as much together as possible, with a few changes. There will be a few changes, but we're trying our best to keep the team as much as possible together. Of course, we're not naive. There's a lot of loyalties that would have been built up over the years, so we have to be wary of those. But we're trying to keep the team together. But if the persons believe that they don't want to be a part of it, then definitely they're out.
All right, we see an article floating around in one of the local news outlet that Paul Hall will also be doing a lot of developmental work in terms of coaches, players, and all of that. Could you elaborate on that?
I'm not so sure what is floating around. I know that is not in his remit or purview. The development is the technical committee who makes the recommendation to the board. Of course, he'll be a big part of it because every national team coach, the rest of the country is supposed to take their cue from him, from the national team head coach as to what they play. Because, for instance, clearly the under 20 coach will work for the senior national team coach, because if you want people to progress from your team to the higher level and the 17 work for the 20, then clearly you should be on the sync with those, the higher coach. So when the progression is made up, the player knows that this coach now like a wing back to give you the Mexican overlap or to stay on the outside, etc. So the transition will be seamless. But so definitely every head coach, part of what they are doing is supposed to aid with the development. So from that angle, yes, but it's not his purview or remit.
Okay. Now, being a part of the coaching staff, you know what I mean? Why wasn't Paul Hall dismissed of his duties as well as assistant coach, the chief assistant, and why was he given the job?
Well, the way we look at it, was for the entire team basically failed, including us, the technical team too.
So who fired you, Mr. Speid?
The board would have to fire me.
So but you say you failed.
Yeah, look here. All of us fail if we don't go to the World Cup. All of us fail. I mean, why would anybody believe that all of us don't fail? But is your failure, is the failure your responsibility? So should you get fired? That is the next assessment.
Okay.
And we believe that based on what has transpired, and because we still want to qualify for the World Cup, we should not get rid of the whole team, but keep some as you know, the ones that we think can help us go forward.
All right. So in terms of the pathway ahead, 6 games to go. Hiring Paul Hall for the interim position with 6 games to go. You strongly believe that he's capable of getting us out of that rabbit hole that we are currently in?
Well, the first thing you look for is progress. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna get us out, but what you look for is progress. So if he's doing better than the coach before, it's still a good sign. Now, remember, Jamaica is split as to what the decision that we made, if it is a correct one or not, right? But at least we have a standard to judge from,
right?
Because people have accepted that standard for 5 years. So what we are looking at, we're not going to be rushed, just like we were not rushed in the initial decision, is to look if progression is being made. I'm not going to hold a big stick over his head and say he must qualify the team, because to qualify the team, he would have done something that no other team in CONCACAF has ever done, win 6 matches in a row. Never happened before. Nobody has ever scored at 3 points per game. The best team in CONCACAF has ever scored at is 2.2 points per game. So you can see that his back is against the wall right away. But again, sports is full of these things where people believe that you can't come back, and people have done it.
All right. So one of the burning issues, Mr. Speid, is that this decision took almost a month to be ratified.
3 weeks.
Yeah, man. It's still almost a month, that man. 3, 4. So what would have caused such a delay, being that with the December possibly so finishing up, and then we have an entire month for January almost? What would have caused that long delay?
All right, so people are using the standard. You see, we always have standards, even if it's subconscious. So the standard was Captain Burrell after he didn't get the required points that he wanted. You'd hear that in 100 hours.
100 hours.
Yeah, the coach would have been fired. But Captain Burrell is a precision man. He's a military man. He doesn't go anywhere without a plan B. So if a coach is under pressure, Captain would carry his technical committee chair. He would carry his vice president, the executive, would have been on the spot. Of course, I would get calls too when I was the president of CASAFA, and he would say, this happened. What do you think? So what you would have is the moral authority and the numbers, because as you know, there's 13 parishes, so you'd have probably line up at least 7 already, ask them their opinion with his executive, and then make the decision. So that is why that would have looked so much more precise and sudden. As it relates to President Ricketts, it's 2 different animals. He's one person that will put his committee in place and ask them to do their job. So he would have said to me, you need to get what your committee thinks about this whole situation. So we had to put together a meeting. We talk about the pros and cons, put everything on the board, make our decision. Then he's the type of person who would say, okay, let us meet with the executive. And he could have met with them via some electronic media, but he wanted to meet with them face to face. So for different reasons, that meeting did not take place till last week, Tuesday.
All right. Okay. Some of the questions might be like, not in sequential order, because I'm not using a script, right? So I might be somewhat all over the place, as some people might think. But there were some individuals who were, quote unquote, interested in the job. Did their resume go into file 13, or they were looked at and spoken to?
Right. So we had like about 5 persons who applied for the job. Look here, 5 that I got. My understanding is that a lot more people applied for the
So you
job.
can't tell we 5 now, Mr. Speed, like how we have a new coach.
No, because some of them is still working. I mean, it's
Okay,
unfair
okay.
to call their name. Some of them still working, and I wouldn't want to that to anyone. So, but when we look at them, I mean, there's nobody in the world that is more qualified than Paula, right? So let me get that out of the way first. He has a UEFA Pro. He also has done another course that you have to do to coach
In the Premier League.
In the Premier League. He has done
Right.
that course too, right? So we look at all of those people. We look at somebody from Spain who is coach on national under 23 team in Spain. He applied, but I mean, come on, can we adapt to the Spanish style? So when you look at all the styles, you start to wonder if that is a good fit for a World Cup qualifier that we're going into action in a month. The players won't change, but can somebody come and play tiki-taka? I mean, so that's a sort of the question. So that is some of the reasons why we didn't choose those people, even although they have more experience and look like they would have been a better fit.
So in other words, from what I get from that though, Mr. Speed, is that the possibility still lies that these resumes might be on the table to be looked into, since Paul Hall will only be having 6 games. Is that true to say?
He's certain for 6 games. That don't mean we can't continue with him.
Yeah, but I mean, do the JFF have the funding, Mr. Speed, to quote unquote buy out Paul Hall's contract, or is it a case where he can work, because it's a global world that we're in now, work together with his club and the federation? And will it be good enough where he's gonna give his all to the program?
I think we're suffering from old-time JFF syndrome. There's so much quality persons working at the JFF now. If you notice, we're not getting sponsorship, we're not getting money from the government, but you notice the program running, you notice we're taking chartered flights, you notice sometimes we have 35 people here,
So
players
now
here.
money.
We're managing with resources very well. Trust me, we have no issue in managing our resource. It's just the old time syndrome where everybody keep on using to beat the JFF. Forget that, man. There's people like Dennis Chung. Those are accomplished business person. A lot of people in the federation with expert advice, people on the different technical financial committee who are very, very good people, astute people. Those are not our issues, right? We want some points. That's our issue. We're committed to spend all the money that we can to get these points if we can get them. So those money things that we keep coming up with, those are not issues. Those are just red herring that people like to come up with. Those are not any issues. We budget, we have budgets, we have financial accounts, we know what we have to spend, we know what we want to do, and we're going after it.
All right. So Mr. Speed, I brought the news about Juan Carlos Osorio. I was reliably informed that he was interested in the job. Did he put in an application? Or you can't say?
I can't say. As I said before, I can give you a type of person. You have people that working with the FIFA, people in the English system, not just Paul. You have persons from Brazil. You have persons from Spain, as I said before, and people with name. You have people from the USA. One player. This is the funniest part. One player called to say that his coach wanted the job. So I mean, that is one national player. You know? You're surprised who it is. So there was no shortage of persons who wanted the job. But as I said before, I wouldn't want to do that because of the different where the persons are. They're all working, and I wouldn't want to call names.
We are hearing about a magnificent 7 that will want to burn a fire since the coach Tapa Whitmore is out. Any truth to that?
I heard the rumor. I don't know if it's true, but it's one of those magnificent 7 who call about his coach.
Okay.
But I must tell you that we will be prepared. This is nothing that's gonna take us off guard. Because in the past when players pull out at the last moment, it is because we didn't have a lot of control over. We didn't dictate who comes, but at this particular point, we talk about it this morning, with the relevant persons that might happen, and we will be prepared. It won't affect us much. What might affect is the Magnificent Seven, but definitely we won't be careless.
All right. So, is there any possible, what you call it now, indicator that you might, or Paul might be needing some new players?
I mean, one of the hallmark of any national team is that they probably pick between 30 and 35 players, no matter if they have 1,000,000 players, and try to keep that steady. When I spoke to him, it's something that he wants to accomplish. So I'm not worried. I think he's going to show steadiness for the 6 games. He's going to show where you can reliable, almost can pick the team yourself for the 6 game and pick who is going to be in the squad for the 6 game. That is the type of feeling I get from him. So I'm really encouraged. I'm not perturbed. If there's a new player, definitely that we need central defensive midfielders and we need wingers. So we talk about all of those. So I'm not saying 1 or 2 new players couldn't come in, but it won't be a lot.
But a hot player like Demarai Gray, have you any contact make to him? Because I'm hearing this thing floating around, that the boss can't find him father birth certificate. And people in the comment section last evening, Mr. Speid,
Then when they start it out, the talking.
The contact has to be made. Contact has to be made.
No. Our Speid attack me. Send me the birth paper right now. Whosoever have it, send it. Come give me. Our Speid.
No, I know that they must say, Mr. Speid. They are saying that it is a simple thing for them to assist
just
the process.
Email. Tell them to tell me how to do it. Just send the instruction.
Well, I'm gonna drop in the comment. RS or R Speid
at hotmail.com. I hope I get what it will abuse now, but tell them to send the instruction since them know for it.
Coach,
go ahead.
May I on this particular point, Mr. Speid?
Yeah.
If you needed a lawyer, you would engage a lawyer. You wouldn't say to the lawyer, send your defense. And you're an accountant. If somebody needs their accounts done, they would ask you to send the instructions on how to do their accounts. They would engage you properly, officially, and formally to solve their accounting problem. Just saying. But thank you for doing the interview. Say welcome.
The people them say they can do it, so just.
No, hold on. Not people. If you wish, and I'm being 100% serious, if that is the wish of the JFF, you have my contact.
There's another question, guys. Mr. Speid, here's a question. Sorry, quoting coach, but has he expressed I have a lot of questions here, but anyway, has he expressed an interest in the program, being part of the program? That's the first question.
All right. So there is interest on both sides, but I don't know if there's enough interest on both sides. I just want to leave it like that because I wouldn't want to. I don't have the exact information to say him say yes, I want to come play, and this is the reason why I can't come. I don't have that information because his persons like the manager of the team would have that type of information. I wouldn't.
All right. Lewis Baker. You said we need 2 different central defensive midfield. Lewis Baker. Any contact made with them?
That's what I said. I said we know we have issues with central defensive midfield and wingers. Yes, I said that, but I don't know if we need 2 or 1 or 3. That's the course decision. I just wanted to clear up that point.
Okay, that's well clear. But we're asking specifically, Lewis Baker, as a CDM, who we have been reliably informed has an interest. Has contact been made?
I don't know. Remember, I'm more of a policy person, not operation, right?
Okay.
So I don't know about detailed operation. I'm a policy person. That's
Okay. Anybody come? Want to be seen like me?
I have questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Speid, I'm going to change the direction of traveling to questioning.
Thank you.
What is the JFF's? Well, does the JFF believe they have an obligation and accountability to the Jamaican footballing public? And if so, how has that been demonstrated over time, even during the campaign? How and where has that been demonstrated? Because unless it's these forums, we rarely hear from those in the hierarchy who are making decisions because they're not in the public domain in a lot of instances and a lot of times.
Well, first, I know this might come as a shock to your cranky, but the JFF is a private company, right? Now, we love football, just like Miss World, Jamaica Limited, or whatever it is called, is a private company. So, because we love football, we believe that the JFF must come and tell the public every single thing. That's not the case. It's a private company, just like any other private company in Jamaica. But, right? And remember, it is not a case where I know you guys laughing, but it's not a case where the public is pumping money in the JFF or the government, right? So a lot of their sources and methods, they will not tell you because it is a lot of it. Sometimes you even have to keep, based on certain things, you have to keep it private, right? Of course, the JFF does do financial statement every year and publish it, so people can go there and look and see what is there, right? And of course, everybody wants to know because it's a national association, what is the development process, etc., 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 etc. And that has been articulated to the parish presidents frequently, and in some instances we have sent out press conferences, press releases for things that we think that is important. Now, I am the first to say communication is difficult, and we may not have communicated everything all the time, but those are some of the constraints.
So Mr. Speid, I say a couple of things. One is, can I wait 1 second? Mr. Speid, when you say it's a private company, they are private companies owned by individuals. There's a difference between a private company owned by individuals and a national organization, right? And even private companies, the consumers, the private company try to satisfy their consumers in a lot of different ways. And here, in essence, for example, the JFF want the consumers support its product. You want interest in product. So when you want to have games, it's about the national public and how they engage you and support your product. Otherwise, you don't have a product. So when you say it's a private company, it's not the same as if it's a regular private company. Dennis and Geddes, I'm not sure Dennis Geddes is public in Jamaica. It's not the same thing. It's a whole different construct. So I'm not sure it's genuine to say it's a private company and therefore what it does, it can do it in secrecy or it can't be publicized. I agree there are certain decisions made which can be the public domain, but we can't be associating a normal private company with a national football organization. There's no way the English FA would say, people would lose their mind, we're a private company, you can't be out in the general domain communicating and telling us what you're doing. People would lose their mind. They lost their mind about
No. So let me fix up that comment.
Okay.
There is degree of privacy, right?
Yes.
So if it is my company that I own, that you won't get even a peep out of that, right? I'll tell you upfront, not your business. And there's other companies that you have shareholders that own, and there's a certain amount of accountability because you either have shareholders or government is contributing to it. There's more accountability. For the private company that we have, an assessment is made of what is to be disseminated to the public. Right. So in that assessment, you might have a problem with it, but the JFF people believe that they have sent out enough information to their stakeholders at all times. Let me just put it like that.
I want to ask a question. Hold on. Kataraki asked a question already, boss.
Ask a question.
You have addressed Mr. Speid already since
Come no, ask a question, no formula.
My thing is, right? Does the JFF receive monies from the government?
Yes, just and the amount of money, we wouldn't even want to discuss it. It is so small, it can't do anything at all, like nothing at all. So all of the 44 sporting organizations get it. And I just want to clear this point. Remember that money is from the Chase funds. It's not the government coffers. Is from a Chase fund that was set up in that way. So you know what the C is for, and the H is for, and the A, and the S is for sports, and the E is for education, right? So is like There's 40% of that money that is taken out for sports out of the 100%. Of course, it was set up for sports only, and the JFF get an allocation. Not the most by any chance either.
You just said it is a private company, and
Yes,
also in an interview with President Ricketts, right, when asked about the firing of Tapa, he indicated that it was a private matter. Now, my thing is, where you say it's a private company, what's the basis for that statement? Why are you saying it is a private company?
You can't help him because I'm probably that believer. Listen, and I want to make this point. A lot of private companies in Jamaica get money from the government. So because you get no money from the government, don't mean you're a public company. I want to make that point clear, right? But you really want a lot of people get money from the government for grants, and they are still private companies. So I don't want to go down there because that's legalese and wallapa things that we have to go in. That's not a point really if you say because the government give you money, you're not private. The government give persons money in a COVID relief. They give companies money in a COVID relief. It's the same thing where government give money, but you can't go into those people's business and ask them any question. I just want to know.
Are other federations around the world considered private companies? Other national federations around the world?
All in Jamaica is private companies. All of them.
Yeah, but we're trying to juxtapose what is taking place in Jamaica with what is taking place in overseas jurisdictions.
I can't tell you because I don't know, and I don't want to say something that I don't know. But I know for a fact that the ones in Jamaica are all private.
But Mr. Speid, I'm sorry to dwell on this issue, but it's a very important issue that you just raised. I don't understand. It seems to me from your response that it is not normal practice, right? It is not accepted or it's not standard for national federations to be private companies. What is so special? Why is the JFF a private company then?
I never said that. I said all the sporting organizations in Jamaica are private company, and I went on to say even the Miss World Jamaica Limited or whatever its name is a private company. Not because you're affiliated to an international body makes you believe these companies that get these franchises are public. They are not. I'm just explaining that point to you, right? And I went further to say the JFF believes that they are transparent. So you might have a problem with it, say they are not transparent enough, but they believe that they are transparent. I, for one, is first to say, yes, more can be done. But I have a funny feeling that a lot of people don't even listen to stuff. People, like I know Cranky go and look for our financials because he know where to find it, which tells you, give you a lot of information. I know most people, the bloggers, don't even go and look for it to see what is happening in the company.
All right, Mr. Speid, hold on, formula.
The website is down.
Hold on. The point on that though, Mr. Speid, in terms of the finances, there was an article of what's the name of it again? Some whatever that of the rules that govern article of incorporation.
Right.
And it is no longer on the website.
Articles of incorporation for who?
That the rules and the things that govern the JFF operation. You have the president, you have the general secretary and all of these things, technical committee and all these. It's not there anymore. Why was it removed?
I don't know.
Is it because it's not private?
No. And I didn't know that. And this is not true that Sovereign is saying about. This is not true about GS1 represent sign agreements which require them to abide by certain.
Okay,
they don't sign no agreement. I was the president for volleyball and we don't sign no agreement. It's not true. What him just says is not true.
Okay.
Mr. Speid.
But Mr. Speid, hold on, Cranky. The finances that you spoke about that could have been found online, it's no longer there.
No. Go to FIFA. It is on FIFA website.
No, but there was a JFF website that has all of these things.
I don't know what you're saying. I have to check, but I know that account is public knowledge. Anybody want to find it there, you can find it. Everybody who want to find it can find it.
All right. Go ahead, Qatar.
So this is the footballing. Man, and we want to talk football, but this is what I would call a bombshell that has been dropped. I have one question with three parts. Firstly, if the JFF is a private company, who is the owner and where is it registered?
Held
Is
in
it just
trust. Yes, held in trust. You have to understand.
where is it? No.
It is registered with the Companies Office. It is registered with the
Companies
Companies Office in Jamaica.
Okay.
But it is the persons who names who are on it hold it in trust, not for themselves.
Can we know who those trustees are? But that was not a question, but this is just brand new. And I'm saying, I really came to talk about it because this is brand new. And thank you again, Mr. Speid. This is brand new.
What I
But
think.
so that's a side you can answer that after. But I really wanted to ask about the what you consider private and what you consider not private. And I would suggest to you humbly, respectfully, that outside of yourself, the Jamaica Football Federation, we are stakeholders. Without the spectators, who are a major stakeholder, who, if we do not come to the games, or if we decide to boycott the games on block, neither your sponsor nor yourself will survive for a very long time, right? So understand that we don't require to know the daily nitty-gritty of who's signing, at what time come to work, how much time people late, but there are certain basics around the world that are accepted. I'm sometimes long-winded, so I'm going to cut myself, but I want to say this to you. For example, for every national team, every club in football, when a coach is signed, you are given 3 pieces of information. His or her name, the duration of their contract, and the value of their contract, their salary. This has not been the case with Paul Hall. And on every firing, on termination, every single one, we were just told in England that Gareth Southgate is going to be paid $6 million per year. The duration will be until 2026, and a lot of other details, but those were the basic ones. Duration, so people know about stability and the financials. Ins and out of the financial, right? That he's the highest paid England manager. Equated it, they gave the rationale. It was equated to Sven-Goran Eriksson's salary, who was the highest before, etc., etc. But those 3 pieces of information are key. And when a coach is terminated, we are given the quantum of the payout. Newcastle, for example, and when my good friend Sam Allardyce was dismissed after a couple of days from England, we were told what the payout of his salary, his termination was, so that we, the stakeholders, can feel comfortable in knowing that the finances and what's happening. So I put it to you, may we have those 3 pieces of information, which is normal in the football world.
So we have financial statement from ever since, right? So that is not in dispute, and it has always been put in the public domain. What we really have is some lazy journalists who don't ask the question. When the journalist, the president is, or they don't know what to ask, why they don't ask those questions and demand an answer? Nobody has ever pressured anybody to ask us those questions. So why would anybody just come and start to talk about salary that people get?
Okay.
This is Jamaica. This is not like this is not like in the modern world where you talk about salaries and people. Even the players tell you, say, don't tell them how much money we sign for. Them beg us not to tell nobody how much money they sign for per match. Because they know so by the time they go on the road, man, I'll say, hold on, you just get $1 million for the match or you just pay. I mean, so you have to think about our reality. Don't think about the US and the UK reality. Our reality is not like that. Even the players that play for me at Cavalier, you know, they tell me, say, coach, at that club, I love it because you put my money at the bank and I can draw $2,000 instead you give me the $40,000 a month time and put it in my pocket and when I go home, I have to cheer it out on the corner. So think about our reality, man. I don't talk like that. Our reality is not
our reality is that the coach lives in England and nobody is paging him for a smalls. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm saying to you that Paul Hall resides in the United Kingdom. But overall, salaries are given all the time to public servants. We know how much a permanent secretary earns.
Hold on. Everybody know Bora salary. Everybody know Schaefer salary. So those people, when they come from overseas, everybody know them salary. What we don't talk about, everybody know them salary. Bora, Schaefer, Simons, everybody know them salary. Not the paper all the time. The salary we don't talk about is the local people's salary, neither the players are the coaches.
Why?
Because
no, but Paul Hall is not local. Paul Hall is from United Kingdom.
Ask the president when you see.
Well, we are asking.
Yeah, but Mr. Speed, I don't pay salary. When we ask technical person, I don't pay salary.
No, but Mr. Speed, one second, Pablo. Mr. Speed, the technical committee recommends. The technical committee recommends the level of salary for the coach.
No.
So you just recommend the coach without saying what his or her salary is? You have no discussion when you're interviewing coaches, salary doesn't come up.
So this is how business run, right? We choose when we are choosing our coach, we say first choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice, right? And then we send them to admin. Admin and them sort out salary and terms and all of that. We no business with that. That's how it works.
Mr. Speed, all right, can I say something? Yes, Mr. Frankie. Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Speed, I'm going back to the football now. So based on the conversation with Paul Hall, by the way, Dre here from Dre Anywhere Sports and Football Ignite.
Yeah.
All right, I know. How about you, man? Not your word.
All right, so remote say Tapa shouldn't get fired. You're above your boss. You know, much people in fire over the field since Tapa was the national coach.
That's a people's opinion. He is alone still. Everything we're going above you, I agree with still, but we're heading in another direction when it comes to player development. So we youngster JC, top man at the Manning Cup. He shouldn't even play Manning Cup. But that's a different story for a different day. But anyway.
When I don't tell now.
Yeah. All right. So based on your conversation with Hall, Coach Hall, so is there gonna be new players coming in that hasn't been capped yet, or will there be players coming back in that we haven't seen in a long time? Based on your conversation.
We identify two positions, right? So that could mean anything. It could mean all of what you just said. New players are players who come back. So yeah, but I don't have the details because I know that the squad hasn't been turning yet for the game coming up on the 20th. We don't have it yet. So I can't say.
Okay, and I might understand that the game coming up on the 20th, is it only going to be MLS, USL, local-based players, because no UK players going to be available for that date?
Players from the Americas only, yes.
Okay.
My question is to you, Mr. Speed. Are we able to get players in the U17, U20 programs from like England or the UK, Europe, America? And if so, is it that we have a system in place where we're saying that, as in, instead of trying to get players when they're at 27, 28, 29, at the end, to get to play into a campaign, do we try to get players to come into the youth program to supplement the players that we have locally?
Yes. So the plan is, right, it hasn't been put in fruition, and we have advanced discussions is for every year, once every year. We're not sure what the month is yet. We'll have a rally, trials, whatever you want to call it, in US and in UK to see what is available from young players, teenagers. So that is the plan that we're going to be putting in place. So an example, I'm paraphrasing, this is not the detail. We could just say between January 1st and 10th, come to Miami. The national coaches will be there, both male and female. We want to see what you look like if you're a Jamaican, something like that. So that is been an advanced discussion to do that. Is in place.
Mr. Speed, why JFF don't really do press conference?
They do when they believe it is important. They do. Last year they did press conference for suspend the league. They did press conference for start up back. So the Premier League. So they do have press conferences. Maybe there's no set time though, like we'd say every month. That is not the case, but they do have press conferences.
All right, Mr.
Oh.
Speid, what has the JFF taken from the fact that there was 5,000 fans allowed in the stadium, but the take-up was only 4,100?
Right. So our reality is that when the government was giving away free money because people had to sign up electronically for it, nobody tried to get the free money, the COVID money. Everybody remember that? So we have this problem in Jamaica. Once you have to sign up, which was the case to come to our matches, it was pretty complex for most people. I mean, and that is one of the reasons why I think we didn't have the 5,000 person in the
All right.
stadium.
A
4,000
follow-up
was
question.
actually.
Hold on. I just have one follow-up question to that, Mr. Speid. The reason I asked that question, I asked the question in terms of how does the JFF see their image in terms of how the public views them?
Right. And as I say, we have a whole syndrome that is following us, whatever you call it, whole image. That's the JFF is nothing like that now, but it's gonna take a long time to shake. I think if we had qualified the team for the World Cup, we would have gotten rid of that image somewhat. But when it comes to spectators, I was in the stadium and I saw the love. I saw the atmosphere. Everybody in the stadium was happy. We put in a decent performance, robbed, we think, at the end. I think if we had more of those performances, a lot of us wouldn't have any long faces if we had much more of those performances in the national stadium. So that is where we need to get, and things will improve tremendously quickly.
But I think, Mr. Speid, your visibility, Mr. Speid, has enhanced the JFF's image in terms of how the public views the JFF, because you're accessible, you're willing to come onto these platforms, and you're willing to answer certain questions. The issue I think a lot of fans have is that they're not getting enough visibility of the JFF in terms of the same press conference question. So I think the whole visibility and the connection to the JFF, to the national program, the fans feel like they don't really get that feeling. So that is the thing that's the reason I asked the question. So I'm saying that you being on these platforms kind of enhance the image, and I think some of those things, if the JFF implements those things in their operations, then there would be a lot of the old narrative that you're saying would take time to drop.
I agree with you. So Monday, there's going to be a press conference. So all of you guys line up, make sure you're on the press conference. And Paul will be there. I want you to ask him how much salary you get. You Cataract, right? Make sure you ask him, Don't come ask me. All right?
Mr. Speid,
I've indicated a question. Okay, the Blake.
No, hold on, Cataract. A long time cranky I want to put in a question.
Don't put up my hand.
No, but the cranky even for
I have a
come.
question.
Go ahead, coach. Let him go ahead.
Okay. Right. It really was a trader thought that, but it is two things. You are not really used to this person. Okay, the Blake, Reggae Boyz commentary. Official accredited. You are used to Cataract. You are used to Cataract, the sort of hooligan roughneck, right? I am now an accredited member by the JFF. I want to say thank you, right? Seriously, for myself and coach, who the JFF accredited, and we have been able to really bring the information live from the stadium. I know coach might say it, but we even the YouTube world feel a respect, even though it's just two of us, but it's a level of respect. And I have to act with a certain maturity and certain discipline, that, with responsibility come accountability. So this is not the Cataract from the last time, but I want to ask you a question that leads on from CC. I think you may have misjudged, because when the government gave the grants, the Western Union outlets and this stadium were rammed to capacity with people who had applied for the grants. So I think the JFF might have to do something in terms of understanding why you did not fill the stadium Because if you're trying to ask for 17,500 when you couldn't get 5,000, you might be surprised. Secondly, the sentiment, people were glad to get out them house and come out. But from where I was in the bleachers reporting, there were a lot of negative. And I need to be specific because you are a part of the technical committee in relation to Javon Watson starting the game and that decision. So everything wasn't all hokey during the stands. But I want to ask a question because keep it in track. I would like you to give us some details on the technical report that came back from the Dominican Republic, where our under 15 team failed to qualify to the knockout stages of the CFU or whatever tournament it was.
Right. So it was two teams. It was the under 14 and under 14 girls and under 15 boys.
No, so the boys I'm asking about. I'm asking about the under 15 or under 14, whatever it is, boys who failed to qualify for the knockout phase.
And I want to tell you that you need to talk about the girls. So you can't talk about boys alone. All right?
No, this is the hard question that we're asking about.
I'm going to talk about both of them. I'm not going to talk about the boys alone. So what happened there is that the tournament was sudden upon us, like maybe 2 months or less than 2 months. We had time to prepare. We tried to get permission from the government to have camps, and listen, let me not say it was denied, but we didn't get it. We didn't have permission either to even have training sessions, right? But we thought basically the generation was being left behind, because everywhere else in the world, both the girls and the boys in every other modern country was training, right, and improving themselves. So we tried our best with whatever means we had to put teams together. When again, our reality, what we have is that a lot of people who can play football in our hemisphere don't have passport. A lot of these good 13-year-old and 14-year-old and 15-year-old don't have no passport. They can't go anywhere. They can't leave Jamaica. And then normally, when we put teams together in Jamaica, we would have been able to go to the passport office and do something very quickly. That wasn't the case in this instance. So it was not our best teams by any chance. But we thought that, listen, if we even find 5 out of the 20 who can kick on, it was worth spending the money, worth carrying them to the tournament. And that is really what happened. Even some of the persons, they had COVID tests, some came back positive, some had blood work that came back. We couldn't carry them because we didn't want to carry those players to the tournament with their blood work not correct. We didn't have time to either ensure that the COVID passed or the blood work was corrective measures was taken for the blood work. And it was definitely not our finest moment. But we said we should still play. If we found 5 people, we're good. And guess what? We did find some really good girls and boys out of those groupings, so we're satisfied.
Satisfied with, but coach, you had a 2-month notice, and I'll let management right after. You had a 2-month notice on an under 15 tournament, or less. Passport office for the express can issue a 1-day passport. So as a member of the media, I cannot accept that as rational.
Hold on. You don't go for passport for everybody till you know who you're carrying. You know, everything costs. So you have to go through the process first, identifying by going through all the parishes, which we did. We only could have 5 people each time to look at them, which was difficult to assess. I'm telling you, we admit that it was not the best, right? It was really terrible, but we figured that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. And passport, some of the time you say, I mean, you don't understand Jamaican players. Some of the time they don't even have the birth paper to get the passport. It's a lot of issues. Just trust me on that.
All right, so we'll accept these excuses, but let me just ask
my final thing. There were reasons. No, they are not excuses. There were reasons, not excuses.
Passports are available in 24 hours in Jamaica.
Not if you have a birth paper.
But Mr. Speed, if we are to accept that, we'd have to accept that every player that you identified that was good, who had a negative COVID test, mysteriously did not have a birth paper,
I
which you
didn't say
need to
that.
be in.
No,
Which
I
you
didn't say
need to
that.
be in school, Mr. Speed.
No,
Mr. Speed,
I did not say that. I have
Sir
seen
Speed,
players. Yeah, I did not
they
say
have
that.
to have a birth paper to be in
I
school.
said
They have to have.
no. That's not true. Where you get that from? I know a player that go through the whole ISR competition and then on a birth paper. I'm telling you that. I'm not asking you.
So how do you verify their age?
I
How
don't
does
know.
it verify
Don't
the
ask
age? But
me.
I'm not
I don't
going to
know.
hug it because man is coming. But when you answer management, just consider that 3 players from the UK several months before that were introduced to the Jamaica Football Federation under the age of 15 who received no contact whatsoever.
How are we going to assess them?
Oh, by Mr. Speed, by watching the video and stuff of the under 15
Really?
league content.
Come on.
So
No,
you don't watch
I know
the
everybody going to laugh at your cataract. We can assess people by watching the videos.
by watching the games
You
of
say,
Manchester City, for example. The Manchester City goalkeeper for under 15, his name is True Grant, who his father had indicated, who plays for Manchester United, had indicated that they would be interested in representing Jamaica under 15.
who did they send
And
it?
not video, they sent the general secretary. I sent the information. I sent the
We never
thing
saw
to the
them.
general secretary.
We never saw them.
So a Manchester City goalkeeper was available for consideration.
But
Right.
all right. So let me just, if you want to get down granular like that, let me get there. Up to age 16, Jamaican can compete with almost anybody in the world at football. So to tell me that him play for Manchester City and him at 15, him better than our 15-year-old. I'm not even going. I would have to see that player against our 15-year-old to make an assessment. I've seen a lot of players come from overseas, in USA, girls come down to train with our girls locally, and none of them can carry water for our girls, and they come highly recommended. So for assessment, you need to have the people on the same field, and that was it.
Mr. Speed, the lead management really wants to ask me to suggest that I'm going to come back when I get my time. That is not an appropriate answer, because the truth is, those under 15s were not as good as those from Curacao.
I don't know that. I don't know
They
that.
lost to Curacao. They lost to Curacao and Bonaire. They lost. And those countries,
understanding football now is showing.
No, those countries also had COVID.
If those countries are training,
they were not training. I did this research. Those countries, Bonaire, had a severe in terms of COVID.
That means they're not training. Dominican Republic have more severe COVID than us, and they train every time. They don't stop training. So don't say that. USA has more severe than us, and they kept training their athletes. So to say they have a severe case of COVID while they're not training, that's not a fair statement. Don't say that. Don't say that. Not a fair statement. But we couldn't train. That machine.
No, man, I know Cranky was up before me, so out of respect, I'll have him go first, and then I'll go afterwards.
So, Mr. Speed, I'm not sure if you watched this program, but I'm of the view that the primary reason, so the coaches made a sacrifice for us not making good progress in the tournament. But I believe the primary reason is the JFF itself, for a number of reasons as to why we are where we are. I'll give you an example. You just said the technical committee made an assessment, I guess, of the coach's performance, and finally decided to recommend the coaches get terminated. But we only had, 5 points from the first 6 games. So how much information and intelligence did the JFF need to make an informed decision about the coach's tenure and his termination? Secondly, if you look holistically at the program and how it has progressed from hence to now, you can see a lot of missteps by the JFF to get us where we are now. So you mentioned this being a private company. In our public company, as you say, in a public company, you have shareholders. The board is accountable to the shareholders. The CEO is accountable to the board. So the board fired the CEO, and the shareholders can fire the board. But in your setup, you can't be fired because You hire yourself. So how do you make meaningful changes in your organization to allow it to function effectively, seamlessly, effectively, when frankly, it has been, I'm gonna use my own word, and this may sound confrontational, inept.
Right. So I'm the first person to say if you fail at anything, you must be held accountable for it. 'Cause it's just a fact of life. And I said before that all of us should in the JFF should be accountable. Does it amount to termination? I don't know. But what you just say is not correct. The board can be fired by the parish representatives. So it's not correct that nobody can fire them.
Well,
They,
Mr. Speed, in all due respect, what I've been informed, there is so much inherent conflict in that construct. We shouldn't hold our breath for that to happen.
no, but you first must agree that what you say is not true. They can be fired.
Well,
So
I mean, fired is a very, can they, you say it's a private company. So how does that work in a private company? We say,
no, but
yeah, right?
it's a private company held in trust. The people don't own it, right? So
Right.
the parish presidents are the one who send and represent. The clubs are the one. The clubs in each parish are the ones who send a representative to the board. Each parish have a representative, so they can fire that person.
But
They
some of
can,
those parish representatives are on the board, aren't they?
because the club send them to the board.
But I'm saying they can't fire themselves because they're on the board, so they're not going to fire themselves.
No. But the clubs can fire them.
Right. And Mr. Speed, you just said something about it was very interesting. You said we shouldn't analogize. We talk about the English FA, for example. We should be very careful about the comparisons and benchmarks, right?
Yeah.
We should be very careful because we are a developing country. I don't want to use the word
Yeah.
third world. I get a lot of harsh coming from us.
We agree on that.
Right. But we do aspire to be like those first world countries, don't we?
Yeah. Yes.
And we do try to emulate them because I was watching TVJ today. They talk about the CDC, about nutrition in Jamaica. They use the CDC as a way of providing guidance to Jamaica, which is a U.S. entity, right? So they're actually doing their benchmarking in other aspects of society about how we benchmark. So there's nothing wrong with us benchmarking the JFF with the English FA or with
I agree.
the FA, right?
I agree.
Okay. So when we make these analogies, we should not say, well, we shouldn't do so. We should maybe say we can achieve what they've achieved, but we should leverage them and benchmark them for us to aspire to do really well. Now, here's my point, which is, why is there an introspection now being done with the JFF about how we change, how you operate? Because frankly, I am so frustrated to hear all of this, which is from day one with the negotiation with the player to now, we blame Tapa for everything. And the JFF may say, yes, we have some responsibility, but it's superficial. Because in reality, in actuality, you don't have any responsibility because you're private. I know you say you're not private because of the parish, but you're private. So you really have no accountability.
But even a private company, people can get you out. The people who have the votes can get you out. Get out anybody out of a private company. If he is a parent or is a family, and I'm the head of, say I'm the head of my family, and I'm in a company and we have other directors, they can vote me out. So nobody's immune because it's a private company. If it's a mafia, them can gunshot you out. So don't say if it's the you can't be gotten out of a private company. It's not true.
Yeah, but Mr. Speed, we only seen one person who has been.
Who is blaming him now? Is you guys? Is not? Is you guys? Is doing it? We're not saying that. We are not saying that internally. We're saying that we should take responsibility. You just don't.
Who has been fired from the JFF to take responsibility for where we are now, which is not a good place.
But that assessment, as I said before, is being done. That assessment will be done by the clubs, the individual clubs, when with their representative that they send to the JFF board, who is tasked with managing everything. So it's a process, and you can see that we're not going the process where you just jump up and say, we're going to do this right now. There is a process, so just allow the process to work itself out.
Here's my last question, Mr. Speed, because I know others want to ask questions. When you did an assessment of the coach's performance, and we talk about the results as a sort of main criteria, what other aspects of his performance, can you break it down about what he did that lend itself in accumulation to him being terminated, apart from just the results?
apart from just, but Cranky, may you agree so that
No,
the
no,
most
no. But here's an
important thing.
example. Here's an example. How he picks his team, the pool that he sourced. There's different, there's different elements that informs that decision, not just the outcome.
No, but Cranky, if he did do all of what you just said, and
All right.
we were leading the qualifier, there wouldn't be an argument.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Speed, my question to you is this. Do you
Yeah,
believe
sorry.
that,
Martin,
do you believe that,
No, it's CC
Well, on
management.
CC, Marlins, you have to act bother for things, you know, sometimes.
No,
Don't lay back. It's
Them
your
man,
time
you
management.
can't just lean back, so, you know. Them man want
no,
question
man.
Mr. Speed, you know.
A couple. I have a question. I've had the privilege, Mr. Speed. Good evening. Thanks
Evening,
for,
sir.
yeah, man. I've had the opportunity to speak to several former players, persons who, a lot of them represented the national team even in the World Cup campaign, and a few of them mentioned that they over the years they have had sons at the junior level, and it was a difficult process for their sons to even get a look in, right? I know one mentioned that he was asked to send a video, and in his own mind, he said that, listen, if I been a national player, a former national player, I'm a coach, you know the level that I'm coaching at, and I call and say, whether it's my son or someone else, I'm recommending a player. Is it really appropriate, given that I be told to send clips and the player have to, so you can assess the player, seeing that, you know, yeah. And so what they were asking, and what I want to ask is there any plans for the JFF to have something where there's one stream of information where persons outside of Jamaica, Jamaicans outside of Jamaica, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, boys and girls, can contact someone, and this is a consistent place. It's not like let me call Mr. Speed, call management, let him talk to Mr. Speed, or call this person, let him call this person, and so all of this information goes to different sources within the JFF and may not get to the point that it's supposed to reach. Is there any plans, or is there a place where there is one place is that all of this information can be someone look at it and ensure that they contact the people? Because often I've heard people say, I did not hear back from them.
So, there's a lot of questions. So the first one, yes, the General Secretary is the point of contact for the JFF, and just like, and I must tell you that if when people apply for jobs, he send me the resume. I get them religiously. He's the point of contact. We have coaches for different units, and I've seen some that comes to him, stuff comes to him, and he would send it to the coaches for the different units. Remember though, it's the coach prerogative to decide if he want to call a player or not. Now, for a national player to say, because I am a national, means that my son or whoever me recommend must be on the team. That's not fair to
No,
the coach.
I didn't say most. What he said is that all he was asking is that he could be a part of whatever trial, so he could be looked at. And because here's the reason I asked. If this person were here in Jamaica, say at, I don't want to implicate any club, say Coach's Desk FC, let's use that club name, right? And Coach's Desk FC calls the present, say, under 17 coach. There is a notion that is quickly accepted more than the person outside of Jamaica making that call.
I don't have any proof for those things. All I can say, in the football world, your pick a squad is 20 people and you have 200 million people. I've had calls in my experience where mothers, brothers, sister, coaches tell me, say, Speed, have a boy for you to come a Cavalier. And when I see that person, trust me, he shouldn't even come through the gate. So it is so subjective what you have said. I don't know how to answer you, but all
I
I
love,
can
I love
say,
what you're saying is that you look at him.
mm,
You
yeah,
look at him.
the
And
only
the problem,
fan,
yeah.
right. But I have 2 scouts in the club now, so sometimes I send the scout to say, tell me about this player. They come back and say, I have no use. I don't even bother to look at him. So sometimes it's not all the time I look at them. So the point I'm making though is that some of the time I know the coaches use other persons to say, I hear there's a player in Clarendon. Can you give me an assessment of that player? The person come back and say, it's not an international material. Because we're not so good judge at for ourselves, the people who connected to us, and then not bother with him. I've seen that happen numerous times. So, but the contact point is the general secretary all the time, or you can contact the coach that is in charge of that unit, right? And they will make an assessment and decide if the person is good enough, or or not good enough, or maybe some of the time the person is a number 9 and they just don't need a number 9, so they just don't bother call the person. So there's so much different reasons why that might not happen. But remember what I told you, we are going to be trying to ensure that every year we go to England and we go to USA at a particular time of the year, and we look at all the people who are available in those 2 major countries that contributes to us and see what if there's any talent that we need.
One question. Let me just finish up quickly, Catholic. So we're playing against Peru on the 20th, right?
Yep.
A lot of things have been opened up in the nation. Our next game will be played at the office. Is it the best decision if the purpose of this game is probably to look at, for the coach to look at some of the players to play? Is the best decision for us to play the game away from home when the game that we're going to be playing will be at home? Shouldn't we be getting the coach to look at the players, at least on the surface, that he's going to play on in a competitive game? Or is it because of financial reasons why the decision has been made to play the game elsewhere?
You're correct with all of them. You're correct in everything you just said.
So, Mr. Speid, and I know that there are 2 others after, I just wanted to ask about, following up from management's previous question, and also my previous question to you, where you said, how would you know? Among the 3 players that we highlighted, because I don't think it's appropriate for fans to pick players, but we can certainly highlight. Would ask the question, why doesn't the JFF, and he asked, how would you know about True Grant? Because he was playing in a league that has the following. Dion Burton is a youth coach at West Bromwich Albion. There were 2 youngsters there, and there are also 2 youngsters at Birmingham City. So you could have simply reached out to a former player who is a pro coach and said, we can't come, but you would have played against, you have 2 in your club. Here's a couple who are within the Birmingham space. Give us your take as a professional eye, right? So that's why I have a difficulty with that. But also,
the coach might not have known about that way. The coach for the under 15. I'm just saying.
No, the coach for the under 15. I have never had any contact with him. As I said, I tried to put this information, but the coach for the under 15, there was a video done about True Grant, right? But I guess the JFF has to open their minds that there's not only one reservoir of information. Football doesn't play on YouTube.
You know anybody else
but information resides on YouTube.
Because everybody you know a Grant name.
Yes, but it's a footballing family. Lee Grant plays for Manchester United. His son, True, plays for Manchester City. Anthony used to play for Chelsea. It's a Premier League family of footballers. Another joke family. But I'm just saying to you that let me hear that behalf, but yes, I get the whole I grant them. Because all of them are Premier League, and but let me be serious. You have Jason Ewell at Charlton. You have Marcus Gale at Brentford in a role. You had Paul at QPR at the time, and this was before he came on board, I think. The big man, Darren Moore, at Sheffield Wednesday head coach. Sheffield Wednesday. You have Wes Morgan, Captain Fantabulous at Leicester. places where there are Jamaican youngsters in their academy setup. And I am suggesting that one approach would be to reach out to these former players and say, Joby McAnuff, right, to say to them, look, if you have any talent, bring them there. So use the economies of scale to be able to do some scouting. And my final, just a recommendation before I let in Cranky and formally had up his hand as well, Crank. I understand about these trials, but may I suggest that what you could do in the interim is, for example, ask those youth coaches to host invitational games amongst the youngsters, so that, and you can have your analyst record and look, so that, you know, that might be a better way. Certainly in terms of UK, the idea of a camp or a rally never existed. But if you pick out 40 players and you have two teams at 20, you have Darren coach one, you have your Jason coach one, Dion coach one. I don't know. But you see them in a playing setting over one day. They might do that because they are in their academy. They're not going to have time to come and be in a camp for the JFF. That's just my take on the UK thing. You might tweak it when you get to the UK. But I'll let up for others so you can
as
answer.
I said before, we're giving it a lot of thought. And one of the things we think about is to go for a week. We might work with 11 Jamaicans who we think good and match them against who you are, because that assessment must be done. Because our company, private company, is Jamaicans who want to develop, right?
So these people are not Jamaicans? No, Mr. Speid, Mr. Speid.
Just listen to
they are Jamaicans.
Listen to me and say, no, we can't. Yes, and that is why I want to look at them and give everybody a fair chance. Just to say, because they are in UK, they are better. We're not going to agree with that. So what we are saying is that assessment must take place, and the best way to do the assessment is probably the way we're thinking about it. Make sure we have a couple of people with standard, carry them across, match them up, so we can see if we're making the right choices.
So Mr. Speid
is not wrong.
Mr. Speid,
yes,
what Cataract is talking about is having some mechanism about how you go out and source talent. And for the view is, we think about talent as local talent, or Jamaican community as local, versus a global community of Jamaicans, right? Who all value the island, who all want to participate in some way, shape, or form the island, who want to support the island, who are all patriotic. So the question is, and here's another point, Mr. Speid. Nobody has a monopoly on intellectual capital. No one does, right? Ideas are all over. The question, how do you source those ideas? How do you collate them, prioritize them, leverage them to help the organization move forward, even though you're a private company? Because I'm not hearing that, I'm not seeing that. Go ahead, sorry.
But I told you we're looking at it because we realize that if we can get some of these players, even Grant, when he was 15, it would have been better for our national program. So, no, it's not that we're not looking at it. We're looking at it. But what we have to ensure that the local program is vibrant, and we don't just pick somebody because you say they come from overseas. We have to make that assessment, and that is really the part we don't work out yet, how we make the assessment.
Yeah, and Mr. Speid, they're not mutually exclusive enough in terms of what you're trying to accomplish locally and what's overseas. And frankly, you know, we're going to granularity sometime we talk about these things, right? But there are things like, well, how does a player who have an interest, and you're right, you can't look at every single player, but how do you set up a process where you can get that done, like Cataract is mentioning, leveraging a lot of different means of trying to do that, right? Whether it's ex-players, whether it's other organizations, whether it's building affiliation. We're trying to think outside the box to help, as you said, developing country, maximize its resources to achieve a common cause, right? And here's the thing to Mr. Speid. That's why I get frustrated. We have so much talent for quote-unquote Jamaicans, right? And we haven't sourced those talents, put them on the field to get us to Qatar so we can all sit in our chairs back home, be proud and wave our flags, watch us not only compete, but actually proceed and progress in the tournament Right now we're trying to qualify. We should be focused on qualifying, Mr. Speed. We should be focused on, you know what? We're going to be in Qatar. We're going to kick back and drink our pina colada. I don't drink liquor. And enjoy ourselves, our country compete. We can't do that, and we're very frustrated.
All of
Can I
us.
can I ask a question?
15 seconds. Oh.
Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
15 seconds.
Yeah,
Mr.
Manis,
Speed.
go ahead,
Yeah,
Manis.
so I just heard, so a little 15 seconds. I just heard you with a point, right? So here's my question. So you go on this trial thing in the United States. You meet a 15-year-old. He's just similar quality, ability, and output as a 15-year-old at Harborview. And you have one spot in the squad. What do you do?
I make Dre anyway that make the choice.
I'm told the same management never retract fully. But
I'm asking a question. I'm just asking the question. Asking what do they do? He said he's going to ask Dre anyway though.
Mr. Speed, there's some questions sometimes you don't answer. That's a brilliant answer.
Yes.
Good night. Good night, Mr. Speed.
After Neo people have some question. One is on
this person that asks what is my connection with the team's current physical trainer. The team has 2 physical trainers, Bojo and Lamar. Lamar used to coach at Cavalier in his younger days, long time ago, like maybe 10 years ago. I don't know what else the person wants to know. Just answering the question.
Okay. Go ahead. And I have some more after Neo asks his question.
Just two quick questions, Mr. Speed. Good night. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking my question.
Yes.
My question is, isn't the JFF a non-profit organization? And if so, isn't it governed? Doesn't it have reporting requirements under the Companies Act in Jamaica?
Yes.
Public disclosure requirements.
Right. So the first one is not a non-profit, more like a loss organization.
Not a loss.
No, Mr. Speed, I was
he's speaking about your legal. He's speaking about your legal status.
Mr. Speed, you just say you have money to do all sort of things now. You have money well enough.
Mr.
Overall, I'm going to answer your question.
I know.
No, but overall, we run at a loss most times. I mean, we don't have enough money to run all the programs properly.
Right, Mr. Speed. But the question was whether or not it is a non-profit organization, and if so, whether or not there are public disclosure requirements that you guys have under the Companies Act in Jamaica.
It doesn't have non-profit organization status, right?
So it is a regular corporation.
Yes, because to get that status is not easy.
But Mr. Speed, I read your articles of incorporation. I researched this thing. It is a non-profit organization. I mean, I know you're not an attorney. I'm an attorney, right? And based on my research, right, the JFF is a non-profit organization. It is governed by the Companies Act. Yes, you don't have any requirements to report to the public, but the reason why you have your financial statements and your bylaws and all of those things online is because you have a public disclosure requirement, and that is how you guys, it seems to me, had fulfilled that requirement.
And we have, but I must tell you, although you are the attorney, remember all non-profit organizations status was taken away and people have to reapply. Don't forget that.
Right. Okay. All right. So you're saying that at this point it is no longer a non-profit organization. Anyways, let's not believe about that.
It's not but I know that you have to reapply. So even if you have the status now in words, it don't mean in reality you can get cars without paid duties and those things. So that is why I'm saying we're not. Right?
No, but I can say with some confidence that it is a non-profit organization. No, you said that maybe you guys had to reapply. Maybe
everybody has to reapply.
So I don't know if you've done so yet, but you couldn't exist. You couldn't exist as a corporation, a limited. It is a company limited by a guarantee. You couldn't exist unless you're either you're going to transition back to non-profit corporate, a non-profit organization. So I don't know if you have to reapply, but that's what you were before. If you lost the status, I don't know.
No, everybody lost his status. You remember the government came back and said everybody have to reapply. What you were able to do before, you're not able to do now. All the sporting organizations in Jamaica, we had to, whenever we wanted to like bring in goods, we had to go through SDF. They were the only one who could actually allow you to bring in like sporting equipment, etc. without duty. So
isn't the main benefit of being a non-profit organization that you guys have certain you taxes? There are taxes that are not, that don't become due. I guess you pay less taxes. There are certain freedom with regards to raising money. I mean, I'm only asking because I know I heard that you're an accountant.
You are. I'm saying to you, what you said initially is correct.
Okay.
I'm just saying the reality that we have.
Right.
We do have some of those benefits that you think we have.
Okay, I hear it. Okay, so my other question was just two more questions, and thanks for taking them. The other question was I just wanted to point out to you that the bylaws, right? There are several objectives stated in the bylaw, and one of them says to prevent racial, religious, or political discrimination or distinction among players, etc., etc. Right? And within those words, right? It also, what can be derived from those words is that you can't have any ethnic or national origin discrimination. And I'm not accusing you personally or the JFF of doing that. I am just putting it out there that those objectives, which I think are worthy objectives of any good organization, right? It seems to me that those objectives would also preclude people from saying, well, treating Jamaicans who are born elsewhere, which would be a ethnic or a national distinction, from Jamaicans who are born on the island. So I'm saying that when we say certain things, right, it seems to me that if you're saying that, well, we're going to give preference to local players who are born on the island, that notion, that sentiment is running afoul of the objectives in the organization, in addition to which FIFA precludes the same very thing. And so I'm saying that I know that we're talking amongst ourselves, but we're on YouTube, and a lot of people all over the world is watching it. And I'm saying that we have to be careful how we act and careful how we talk, because it is not only contrary to GFF's own rules, but it's also contrary to FIFA rules. And so, I just wanted to put that out there because I am sympathetic to having our local born people have, full benefits to make the team, and I want to see development there too. But I'm also, I was born in Jamaica, went to UA, spent most of my life, well, I don't know if it's most of my life at this point, in Jamaica. But I'm also very, I get very apprehensive when I hear people say things like, we're gonna, the local players should be given preference or something of that sort, because it seems to me that, and I'm not asking you to comment on this, that Tapa's downfall, it seems to me, was to consistently choose players who appear because they were, they were local and he knows them better, rather than choose players based on their ability. But anyway, so I just wanted to put that out there.
All right.
All right.
All right. No, but let me respond a little. I never at any time believe are saying we must pick players regardless of their ability. What I'm saying is that we have a local program that we have to make it remain relevant all the time. And
definitely.
Right. So that's it. We have, and a lot of our stakeholders are here. The parishes, the clubs. There was a time that all the Premier League players would say, "Oh, not even try too hard because I can't make the national team," because you had coaches before who said that there was nobody locally who can manage international football. So we have all of that in the back of our minds. So that's not our case. We have no racial or ethnic
national origin.
I wanted to say something this week. Cranky had a question that I didn't finish. No, we realize that there's limitations to. We only had 13 people who voted, you know, for the president and some of the members of certain, like the vice presidents, right, and effectively the general secretary. And remember, we are in a review process right now that wants to increase that amount of persons from 13 to 71. And that those documents are with FIFA is for them to come back to us before we adopt it formally. So the firing process, Cranky, it used to be 104 under Captain Burrell, and Captain Burrell is the one who brought it down to 13 votes, right? So this president is trying to bring it back up to 71. So it means that the professional football organization, they will have votes. The Women Professional League will have votes. The Coaches Association will have votes. The parishes will have votes. Players Association, once you incorporate yourself properly, you will have vote and can decide who is the presidency, or they can decide to Speid and one good chairman, a technical committee, etc. So there is progress on the way, and we just have to wait until that point.
Just one last question to address that.
Did the president decide that, or did FIFA decide that?
It was the JFF who decided that they didn't like the way it was constructed now, and they asked FIFA to help them in the process.
Just one last question.
I know all the media keep on saying that is the FIFA. That's not true. Let me just explain something to you about FIFA. FIFA don't even have those rules in place for themselves. So continue.
Let me
we have a call online, you know, money.
Oh jeez, and peace. No, I run, you know, but all right.
That's Speid, you're hot. That's Speid.
More. Neo, we are go. You say you have a follow-up question.
Just one last question.
I don't want to go past that issue, you know, because my thing is part of what Neo, and I need to just say this, please, because it's tied with Neo. When it comes on to a coach, I think a coach must choose players that he believes fit. If Paul comes and chooses 23 players born in England, I would not have a problem. All right? I would not. Therefore, if Theodore Whitmore chose 23 persons born in Jamaica, I would not have a problem with him doing that, though I would not have done that.
Manningsman, you're deliberately missing a point. I'm sorry.
No, man. No, let me finish. No,
but you are Manningsman.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. The point I'm making is that at the end of the day, as it relates to Tapper, all I'm saying is that I don't think it is fair to use the discriminating stuff in relation to him, because we don't know that that was the reason why he preferred. That's all I'm saying. Why he preferred, in our estimation, a certain group of players. I don't know if it had anything to do with.
I think that's a reasonable point, Manningsman. I'm not going to argue with you. My thing was that I said that it looked to me like it was based on favoritism and connection. And yes, there's a distinction between that and discrimination based on national origin. So I can agree with that. But the point is that it equals the same thing, because the people who he was more familiar with and had favorites with were the ones who were born on the island. So it's basically it's the same result. Even if we make that distinction that you're trying to make, it ended up being the same result. But I agree that's a reasonable distinction. But the question for Mr. Speid was this. Mr. Speid, I'm just trying to understand, right? So the Parish Association heads, they also are a part of the board of the JFF?
Yes.
They pay a fee to the JFF so that they can become members of the JFF?
No, nobody pays anything to the JFF. The money goes the other way, actually. The JFF pays give the parishes money.
All right. So the Parish Association heads who are the board and who elect the president, right? They receive money from the same entity that they're voting for and the same president that they vote for, right?
Yes.
And so therefore,
well, same thing with FIFA. FIFA send money to us and we vote for the person of FIFA.
Yeah,
not different.
Right, but FIFA
too.
Mr. Speid, I'm an attorney in New York, and we prosecuted FIFA because of the things that FIFA were doing. And I can't go into detail what my role was, but they got prosecuted for that. So my question is,
Fire
my que-
prosecute.
FIFA got prosecuted, yes, by the Southern District of New York. But my question is this, right? If the people who are electing the board are getting paid by the board, Mr.
No,
Speed,
they don't get paid.
no,
They
all right,
don't
they
get
get
paid.
but they get funded by the
The
board.
parish get funding.
Yes, the parish association
Same
heads.
thing, yeah.
Right.
No, it's not the same thing. They don't get paid. I don't get
my
paid. Let me make it clear. I don't get a cent.
yeah, all right. So
Right?
Mr.
Okay.
let me correct myself. So they vote for the JFF president and make up the board, and the JFF in return and the president in return helps to fund their parish associations, right?
Fund the programs, like fund the under 13.
Yes, Mr. Speed.
Yes.
And
Parish
I'm
association.
so I'm putting it to you that is, it seems to me that is a recipe for conflicts of interest.
For
That's a
corruption.
recipe for self-dealing. And I'm just recommending to you that there should be more reform, because guess what? Maybe none of that is happening, but I'm just saying that you have to get away from the appearance of conflict and the appearance of corruption. I'm recommending to the JFF and to you personally, because I give you a lot of respect. I'm just recommending that you guys look into reforms that would make these that would drive away these appearances, and that would lead to better administration of the Jamaican Football
Right.
Federation.
And the reforms, as I said before, are coming, because the parish president will not be automatically become a board member. Right. So those reforms are in train. But people, it's the same thing CONCACAF do, it's the same thing FIFA do. So you guys need to don't make it look like it's a Jamaican thing.
So
Right?
let me
But
just say something.
Them said,
Neo, guys.
That's what
hold
to
on,
say.
hold on the cranky. I think Neo said it, that he FIFA was prosecuted. But from one attorney to our next, we have another attorney online. Go ahead, sir attorney.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Mr. Speed, I've got a couple of questions and then a follow-up comment on one of the things that Neil said. In an earlier comment that you made, you indicated that one of the plans that you guys were mulling over was to take some Jamaican players to England and to see how they match up against players in England that are of Jamaican parentage, to see how they match up, and if they are comparable or superior to the Jamaican players, then they would be given full consideration of making the Jamaican team. As an attorney, I can tell you that that doesn't play around well in my head, because when we are selecting our local players, we're not using English-born players as a measuring stick at all. Okay, so when we're selecting English-born players, Jamaican-born players should not be a measuring stick in that sense. You go to England, you scout, you know what you're looking for in terms of talent, in terms of fit into your system, and if you see kids there that match up well with whatever the coaching staff is vision of what the team is supposed to look like, then you pick them. Okay, hey, him not better than the baller from over Portmore type of. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. You select you go out, you scout, you bring your guys in a camp, okay, and you let them compete, and you let the chip fall where they may. So I would suggest that you guys not do that. If you're going to go scout in England, if you're going to scout in the United States, if you're going to scout in Europe, scout. Scout. If you're going to take Jamaican kids there, take them there for something other than, trying to match them up against a potential teammate. You're going to have an opportunity to do that in a camp setting when you bring these players down to Jamaica, and everybody, local and foreign-based players, are in a camp and going through their competitive period. So that's one. Two, something that Neil Sovereign said that's very, very important. Okay, it's not impropriety that the JFF needs to be concerned about, even though that is a primary concern. It's the appearance of impropriety, and I think that's what he's getting at. When you do things Okay, you have to do them in such a way that they are above reproach. There is full transparency from the cradle to the grave. And I know I give you credit. You said there are reforms that are coming in. We hope to see them. Third point that I wanted to make is this: that when you look at the structure of how football is learned in Jamaica, that is something that the JFS has to address. I can tell you, as a kid that was born in Jamaica, that grew up a significant portion of my life in Jamaica, there is no formal introduction to football in Jamaica. Okay, there's no formal introduction to football in Jamaica. So, I mean, we get to the Manning Cup level, we get to, even sometimes to the national team level, and you're seeing guys that just based off of fundamental technical ability, they're lacking. They're weak on one side. Okay, their spatial awareness, their tactical awareness is completely lacking. So that's one of the things that the JFF has to put on their agenda, is we have to have a plan in terms of footballing education for our kids. And I'll give you a primary example. In the United States, as far as basketball is concerned, okay, you have high school basketball, okay, where kids play in whatever divisions or conference they're in. But during the summer, all of these kids are playing something called AAU basketball, okay? And so what you have are a set of kids that they are literally inundated, ingrained in the sports year-round. Football in Jamaica is seasonal, and that's why it's difficult. It's very, very difficult for us to develop the talent that we've got in Jamaica the way we're supposed to develop it. So one of my recommendations is we have to, especially for our youngsters, we have to see whether or not it's possible for us, okay, to have the kids working on their skill set year-round. Okay, and I think a large part of you being able to do that is leveraging the high school system. Okay, one. Two, having some type of intermediate program between the end of the high school seasons. Okay, and three, the academies. Okay, Spain is the way it is because they've got academies. England is the way it is because they've got academies. Germany is the way it is because they've got academies. Okay, Argentina, Brazil, all of these places, the clubs, they have academy. Now, I know there are limits in Jamaica in terms of resources, but in terms of structure, okay, every single Premier League Jamaican club should have an academy system, okay? And I'll take your comments up here.
All right. Thanks, Council, for this call and sharing your point of view. Mr. Speid, how do you respond to this?
Right. So the first question is that if England and the United States were the two places we're proposing to target, and they probably have. If you ask for all the Jamaicans in England, they probably could find 1,000, 2,000. If you ask Qatar, you know how much people up there can pay for Jamaica. And the same for USA. It's easier for us to assess them in those countries than to try and carry them here into camps because of the sheer number of persons that we have to go through, both male, female. We could have a scrimmage 6 versus 6 and an immediate assessment in our view to see what the standard is. I think it would be very instrumental in us deciding on the final squad. So I know you meant well, Councillor, but I think you got that one wrong. The second point he made was I can't remember. It took so long. The second point he made was the appearance of whatever it is. I think I went through that already, so I don't know if I have to answer that one. And the third point about the Jamaicans, the point of entry. Yes, now we have grassroots programs in every parish, both male and female. We have under 13 competition and under 15 competition in the parishes. Every Premier League club have youth teams, and also some Premier League clubs have female teams. Just this year, we passed the regulation concerning academies, which we categorize academies in A, B, C, and D academies. So far, we probably only have about 5 clubs who can make an A academy right now. but that is coming on stream. So those improvements are being made as we speak, and we hope to put them into fusion as soon as the pandemic passes.
Let me just say
All
a
right.
couple of things. Let me say a couple of things quickly. One,
Everybody has
in Paris, right? I just like, honestly, I like balance. I like when we talk, because Kaim Paris is a locally born player who has not been called up. And there are persons born in England that got an opportunity and he did not. No, that's fine, because that is a coach's decision. So Curtis still got a call when Javian Brown did not. And I think, in my opinion, Javian Brown is okay.
There's Campbell too, who is a very good player.
So there are selection issues. So though I agree that everybody must be given the opportunity, there are persons born in Jamaica who feel the same way now, that they were not given an opportunity. I just want us to look at the other side of the argument.
But it's not a valid comparison. It's not valid. Here's why it's not valid, man. Because no one feel that they weren't called up because they were born in Jamaica. That's why it's not a valid argument.
No, so let me. That's why I'm asking you to make my point.
Okay, go ahead.
Kaim Paris feels like, because a person is from England, they have been given the chance over him. Whether you don't believe that, Cranky, that's how he feels. That's what I'm saying to you. He feels like the only reason why a particular player was selected is because he's from England. That's how he feels.
We're not saying that sometimes. Wait, let me just say this. We're not saying that
that's
sometimes.
All I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes that's what I'm saying, Cranky. That sometimes they feel that way to say it's two sides. Are you saying you disagree with it?
But we're digressing. We've moved away from that, Mannings, man. Which is the reason why people are very focused on this issue is around Haka. Let's be clear on that. No one can just feel they can justify why Haka is in the team. I don't want to be.
No, all of we agree that.
But that's the main person who drives that narrative, and you know this.
No, I will go back to Mr. Speid. Mr. Speid was driving this narrative until Anthony Grant proved him wrong.
Mr. Speid, I have another question, Mr. Speid.
I'm fair.
Giving a chance to ask a question.
I'm fair, right? Because here's the thing.
I am going next.
Kevin Lambert could have been called. So those are what I'm saying. That is more a selection issue of the coach. That's all I'm saying. The coach made some selection issue, some selection mistake. I don't think it like. Anyways, you know what?
All right, hold on, Cranky.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Cranky. A lot of people are sending in questions in, and I have to be fair, you know. 2 questions, Mr. Speid. 1, the issue around selection criteria is hot. Same thing it depend, you know. Hold on, where's the question? Oh yeah, what does the best Jamaican team look like to you, Sir Speid? Player quality, diversity of leagues, the most active players form, and what would your policy be in terms of that? Another question, real quick, in terms of what you spoke about the private company. Since the JFF is a private company, then we can create an alternate football association. Would that be viable?
All right. So the second one is easy to answer. Just like, as I say, the Miss World pageant is the company that gets the franchise operated. So the JFF have the franchise from FIFA to operate it now. So for you to get an alternate JFF, you'd have to find a way for CFU recognize you on CONCACAF and FIFA, which at this particular point in time is just impossible. So tell the person to take that out of them now.
All right. And the other question, you remember it?
Oh, yeah, the top part about, look here, if you ask me about Cavalier, I tell you how I construct Cavalier. I can't tell you how a coach would construct a national team, because everybody different and it's their prerogative. They are the ones going to lose their job, not me. So I can't tell you that.
All right, Cranky then formula.
So Mr. Speid, so Neil asked Speid a series of questions around conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure people were listening to Mr. Speid earlier when he said it was set up in a way So how the president was elected was all designed and constructed for the person in that seat to be elected by those who elected. It wasn't a transparent process. There was only 13 people doing the election. Some of those people are sitting on the board. And we won't say about who set this up, but the person lost the previous election way back when and made sure going forward they would never lose the election.
Correct.
So inherent in this whole construct is conflict of interest. It's embedded in the construct, and so it's hard to then. And not only that, it's worsened by the fact how FIFA operates. So we use CONCACAF and FIFA, who are not exemplary for anything ever in life. So marry that with how we are constructed here in our organization. It's not a good setup, people. And going forward, if we want to do better, it has to change. So I'm glad we're going another route of expanding that electoral process to make sure there's more people involved in electing who sits at the head of the organization. Because I can tell you, if the JFF did its job, we would be strolling along to get to the World Cup qualifiers. I'm telling you, to the sourcing players, have the right people in their seats in terms of who run coaching, whatever we need to have. And Mr. Speid, my last point is, Mr. Speid, it's a little bit of a soliloquy. I read your financial statements, and I know they're dated somewhat. I'm amazed that we are saying you have the resources for us to take chartered flights and do what we do. I read through them in detail, and I looked at them, and they're not the best I've seen. I've seen bad financial statements. They're challenged. So where do these resources come from to allow us to be able to support the program through the qualifiers?
Well, I mean, as I said before, I think the one that you read was 2020, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2020, we are pretty, no, it's not, it is recent. That's the most recent financial statement you could have, 2020. But as I said before, I don't want to go into too much details about finance because I'm not here about finance. I know about the finances, but I don't want to discuss it.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that you have seen what we have done so far in 8 games, and we're doing fairly okay. Now, the spectator aspect is something that, we're very upset when the government didn't approve spectators, and that will help us a lot go, in the final stretch drive. And we've also projected for those two what we think we should make from that, and we think we're in pretty good shape to finish the qualification. So that's all I can say. We're in pretty good shape to finish qualification. Remember, Frankie, is not the company that makes a loss go out of business first. Is the company that run out of cash.
Yeah.
Remember. Okay.
All right, formula.
Whether the JFF likes to admit it or not, right? There is a public perception, a black cloud that surrounds the Jamaica Football Federation, right? Whether the JFF deems it fair or not, the reality exists that there's a black cloud that surrounds the Jamaica Football Federation. One of the reasons why, as a matter of fact, the main reason, in my opinion, why the Federation struggles to get sponsorship, right? Black cloud surrounding the Jamaica Football Federation of corruption, right? Whether you think it's fair or not, it's the perception. What is the JFF doing to go about changing that respective narrative?
And I used to work in media. Coach means that you need to disassociate yourself and your program from that statement that was just made. You need to really say it publicly. Say, me disassociate myself from that statement that was just made, just in case somebody wants to the corruption statement. Look here.
No, I said public perception.
As I said before, no, but you can't say these things.
That's opinion. No, you can't. Defamation is not opinion, Mr. Speid.
No, you can. You can. I work in media. You can. You can say it like that, and the damage is done.
I studied law, Mr. Speid.
I don't care which law you study. I am telling you.
Boss, I passed tortious liability at the university level.
So you can just say anything. You can just say anything and say somebody's perception. Anybody. The dog says so. So is our perception. No, that's not how it goes. I'm just saying, and I'm saying it over. You hear Cranky just tell you, him is a reliable source of you guys. We have accounts up to 2020. 2021 is not yet due. And I said before in the program, you guys talking about one old-time JFF where we don't get rid of that syndrome yet. So you guys need to assess what is there now and just get to the program. We can't keep on our account for something that happened in the past. We up to 2020, we file returns with FIFA. FIFA audit us with every single audit known that FIFA have in them arsenal, and we pass all of them. That's all we can tell you. Anything else you want, we
But
can't help you.
but Mr. Speed, to be fair, and as I said, it is a public perception. Public perception does not necessarily mean
But it not
that
a real, but if you keep on repeating it like that, then some other person will believe you. You have to do your
no, but
research.
it is the reality of the
It's
matter,
not a
Mr.
reality. It's
Speed.
your reality. You must go do your research and look on the evidence and talk about the evidence.
Mr. Speed, I guarantee if I ask everyone on this panel if this perception exists, they will agree with me.
Let me tell you
The
about
chat would
journalists
agree
in
with me as
Jamaica.
well.
Let me tell you about journalists in Jamaica. You guys lazy, you don't ask the right questions, and you just assume things. Go and do the research. You realize our file returns from 19 how long to 2020. FIFA audit us every year, then give us every single pilot audit and can find the year misses so that it happened. And all of those will pass with flying colors, right? You know, you're the government that carry a court for nothing. You know, you're nobody a sue with anything. What more proof you want, brother? You can't
Mr.
help it.
Speed, Mr. Speed, let me give you a perfect example of the perception, right?
You see, you come
I,
again with the perception.
boss, just no, but it is the reality. That is what we are dealing with
No,
here.
that's
Whether
not the
you want to
reality. The
admit it or
reality
not,
is that
I'm not saying the
the
JFF is
reality,
corrupt, you know,
no,
Mr.
but the
Speed. Mr.
reality
Speed,
is that
I'm
we
not
do
saying it is
everything
corrupt, you know.
that the rest of normal companies them in Jamaica do, where you're
Mr.
not
Speed,
corrupt.
Mr. Speed, let me give you a perfect example of how this perception is affecting the Jamaica Football Federation, right? After the Reggae Girls went to the World Cup, I don't remember what games it was that the Federation, right after the World Cup, the Federation wanted to raise money for the respective tournament and struggled. Sidela Marley stepped in, right, and generated the funding from respective corporate entities. The respective corporate entities stated that the only grounds that this money is being given to Sedela Marley is that it is paid directly to the vendors and not passing through the hands of the Jamaica Football Federation. You are going to tell me that this perception is a facade?
Right now, yes.
Mr. Speed, sorry, Mr. Speed, to cut in, but I believe that the perception is floating around that what Formula is saying is so. People believe so for true, Mr.
But
Speed.
you guys
And
need to do your jobs and find out the
no,
fact and stop
no,
talking about
Mr.
perception.
No,
Media is
Mr.
for the
Speed.
truth.
Hold on,
And
Mr.
media
Speed.
is supposed to talk, is supposed to seek out the truth.
Yes, but Mr. Speed, we do programs, we do article incorporation, we do the whole accounting, and me do this for my program. Me and Neil do it. Alright? But that still does not negate from the fact that the people them still have them perception. And that's the point I'm trying
And
to
the
make.
perception needs to be changed. It is
Yes.
hampering the
Yes,
JFF's
but it
ability
can't
to
change
generate
if
funding.
but it can't change because you now come on the program and say, like our computer come and say, yes, them have them account. Yes, them conform to the companies acting in Jamaica. Yes, them do all of the FIFA audit and them pass them. If you report and say that,
Yeah, man, we say it, man, we say it. But that still not change the people
so
in
if every
mind.
time you come and the only thing the people in my ear, you know, we can have your option. 2 words stand out, then you want whole sentence, and then we hear 2 words out of the whole sentence. Who tell the change?
Mr.
But,
Speed,
but Mr. Speed, hold on 1 second, the cranky. Mr. Speed, right?
After Formula is gonna be Qatar. Go ahead, Formula.
When the media reported on the matter of FIFA intervening, the changing of the voting laws, right? That was a big deal for many people in terms of a public perception of corruption. Now, my thing is, hold on, Mr. Speed. The media, credible media outlets reported that it was not the JFF who got FIFA to intervene or got FIFA involved. It was whistleblowers. That is what credible media reported.
And the media wasn't credible. And that is a corrupt media. That media is a corrupt media. And guess what? No? Me used to work for CM media. Me, I tell us that was a corrupt story. So me, I tell you about the corruption. See? So when me I tell you, said all of this was started by the JFF and they asked FIFA for help to make sure, right? Say it pass out. So I just try telling about the media, you guys, if you sell a paper or if you make somebody listen to a story, you don't seek out the facts.
So why in that case didn't the JFF sue? Isn't there legal liability that can arise from that?
Why the JFF not sue you too?
Now sue me for what? No, you cannot sue me for defamation because me think that there's a public perception is not defamatory, right? And has no basis for liability. So the JFF cannot sue me. There's no grounds to sue. There's no grounds to sue.
Coach,
Look like you must
Coach, can we get Coach?
I have a question.
Coach.
No, CC Cataract asks first. There's a sequence. I go after Cataract.
And then
Hold on, man.
Hold on, man. We do the thing in the right way, brethren, then. Because we have done the thing. So Dre can come after CZ. Mr. Speid, I can tell you I've worked in media because you have danced around many of the questions today. So what I'm going to ask you to do is if you can get a little pen to jot down what I'm asking so that you don't pick one convenient question and answer, and then don't answer the rest of them.
No, man.
No, Mr. Speid, right?
No, ask him 3 one time.
No, man. But just give it them, because we are rotate. You, earlier when I asked about the under-15 tournament, and I'm not one of those lazy journalists, blamed COVID, blood tests, etc. And you made a pronouncement that said that at under 14 level and under 15, that our footballers are equal. I'm asking you to then comment on the fact that in the 2018, when there was no COVID, Jamaica drew 0-0 with the mighty St. Kitts and Nevis in the under 14 tournament held at Arnett Gardens. And we managed to demolish the mighty Barbados 1-0 at the under 14 level. Explain how these results in non-COVID times, which happened to match the results in August 2021, explains that somehow our young footballers are better than their counterparts at under 14. That's number one. Let me go through this quickly. They want to ask you said that we needed wingers and CDM position were the two positions of weakness. No one can challenge that. I'm asking, does the technical committee also believe that the right back position is a problematic position for which reinforcements might be needed? And I will ask about the technical committee, because when you came on a previous program, you said the responsibility of the technical committee, of which you are a head, is to bring the pool of players, and then the coach has the responsibility to select the team from the pool of players. So based on that responsibility, I'm going to ask you some very specific question, but very specific. In the pool of players that the technical committee has the responsibility of selecting, has the technical committee done so in the past or will contact for consideration Kyle Walker-Peters, Deshaun Bernard of Manchester United, and I'm talking people who have indicated that they will play for Jamaica, Lewis Baker, and I'm not asking you whether you're going to pick them, I'm asking you whether you will consider contacting them to add them to the team. Lewis Baker, Ivan Toney, Mason Greenwood, and who was the last one? Coach Tyreek Mitchell, Dane Scarlett, Keenan Davis, Cameron Archer. 8. All Premier League players. I rest my 3 questions.
So the first one, I never thought St. Kitts or Barbados was mighty.
Yes, but you said we were equal. I'm saying that we we could not beat St. Kitts, and we could not.
No,
We
I
could
never said that.
barely.
I said
No,
that
no,
our players at those age groups are equal with anybody in the world. I
no,
never
but they're
said,
not.
well,
They can't
Tottenham
beat
Hotspur
St. Kitts
Tottenham Hotspur came out here and played Cavalier and we mashed them up 2-0.
with
Under
what team?
under
With
50.
what team? Do you know that there's over? Do you know that at the academy at
You
Spurs
tell
or
me,
Chelsea?
do we really care? Or which team then care come? Fancy me and Tottenham Hotspur certainly.
Yeah,
Do we
yeah,
care?
that.
Come on. Then come in an international tournament. Do we care?
Okay.
We
No,
go,
no, no, no.
we go over.
I congratulate you on the
We
result.
play also sooner that under 17 in Sweden. We go over there 6-0. We play Deportivo de Alves 2-0.
Oh, well, Mr.
Me I
Speed,
tell
so
you
why
by
we can't go?
experience.
Why
When
we
me
can't
know.
go the Youth World Cup?
Me
now?
not ask you about what somebody else do, you know. Me I tell you where we do, Cavalier do. Right? And we
So,
play BK Happen in Sweden 1-1. Me not ask you about when nobody do, you know, so me believe so. Right? When we go play, we play FC Dallas 4-0. And them score they will give them.
but this is not an
So
interview
me
about
not, so,
Cavalier. This is an interview about national
a
team.
Jamaican teams, a Jamaican team. So I'm saying when we play France 2011 Mexico World Cup under 17, 1-1 the match draw. France with Kurt Zuma and Paul Pogba. So I'm saying it's something when me know. Me not ask, me not go around the bush. At certain levels, we can compete. Is after the 16-year-old the gap start us widen. And you know why the gap widen? Is because we now have the coaching here to bring them at the same level like the other teams in our
Oh,
world.
but Mr. Speed, so why is it that we only went to 2
But
under
see,
17?
Coach,
with
when is
respect,
it last thing that beat
but
Manchester United? What is the last thing that beat
no, man.
Coach Minzy? Which
With
is the last thing that
respect,
beat?
I asked 3 questions.
So
Could we allow him
the
to answer
first
them?
one. The second one, you misinterpret what I said about the technical committee and players. Let me just explain again to you. There is 2 process, right? One of the things we played with from 1994, when we can remember, all of you remember, every single match we used to go play, there was a war as to how much money players must get and then strike. We thought that the technical committee said that is something we need to solve before anything else. So we came up with an idea that we were going to make sure that all of those players that are eligible to play for Jamaica sign a contract. If you don't sign the contract, we was not going to pick you. So we widened the pool, and if the people said they wanted to come, we would go after them from the technical side. We go after those players and make sure they sign the contract. You see, after that is not the coach decide we want to pick. We don't business after that. We just pave the way so that when they come to games, if you notice this World Cup qualifiers, you know, you're nobody or the good people just pass or talk about money because all of that was settled before. So that is, so don't mix up the two.
No, I'm not mixing it up. I'm
No,
not mixing
we
it up at
don't
all.
pick players. We don't pick players. We don't pick players.
I said that you do not pick the players. I'm saying you establish the pool. And so I'm asking you if though I asked about the 8 particular players at the pool, and the second question was related to the right back issue.
So we never think the right back was as serious, and we're not trying to hold the coach's hand. We're not hold him on for every position, because we could say other things too about other positions. We just picked out the most glaring ones. And as it relates to the 8th person where you just a call, come on. Get new player? I not even know if my fan.
Because some of them will be eligible for under 20 and under 23.
We're going to look for players for under 20. Yes.
Mr. Speed.
There's no under 23 competition this time.
Let me say this, right? What I'll say is that while I agree with some of what Ketarak says, if any team beats Jamaica, Jamaica has no excuse. So when a Jamaican team or Jamaica beat them, let there be no excuse. I'm going to tell you why. All right? Again, for me, this is just balance. Over the years, our youth team, could they have done better? I believe so. I believe if the last under 20 team that we had, the coach had stayed in position and enough time was spent to them, it was the Jamai Tope, the McGee, Niku Daly, all of those guys. That Mexico team that defeated them, I think, went to the finals.
They went to the finals, yes.
Of that Youth World Cup. And they played, I mean, we didn't qualify, Mark, and this was the final stages with a team that was underprepared. Right?
Hold on. Sorry. That's not true. The team was underprepared. You see, that's a narrative that people wanted to believe. That team even played 3 or 4 international games at IMG a couple months before the tournament. This is not true.
All right,
people just keep on saying these things.
All right, so the coach
leave the team.
Right, the coach left the team. So I think they could have. The point I'm making though is this. While I agree that we need a lot of development, while I agree that we don't have the best talent we don't have the amount of talent as the amount of talent in England, I will agree with that. What I will not agree with is if we lose out to St. Kitts, it means that something is wrong. Because if Brazil loses a game to a lower ranked team, it doesn't mean the whole system is flawed. Because generally our youth team beat the teams in the Caribbean. Generally. We don't struggle against.
Listen, but Mannings, the Caribbean is catching up. The Caribbean is catching up. That's the problem.
But we are catching up to the Mexico. Generally, when we go to Mexico, we get 10 and 6. Generally, when you go to Mexico from the 1980s, I can't give you games that we get 10 from Mexico.
80s.
And 8. Which 90s? 90s we went there and get 6 2 times.
In a medieval times,
Costa Rica 9. After we come from the World Cup,
in the 90s we went to Mexico, and in the 90s we went to Mexico and got 6 on more than one occasion. I can give you that.
If Mexico finished their chances at the Azteca in the qualifiers, we would have gotten 6 if they weren't in the final third.
Mannings. And in the 90s,
I don't want to lose.
And in the 90s, Frisco Kid was a big DJ.
What is
right? Times change.
Isn't that what we're saying? So when you are talking, so listen on that. I'm telling you, Cataract. Let me make the point because watch this. So when you say, when you try to belittle the under 15s in Jamaica, because they had a struggle against St. Kitts, but those same under 15, a couple of them were players that Craig Butler took, were part of Dylan John. Well, Craig Butler took some under 15 Jamaicans and beat some club teams. We're going to minimize that. We're going to say that is no big deal. These are same Jamaicans. But when we struggle with St. Kitts, something is wrong with the football, but it's some under 15. When Mount Pleasant went and defeated some teams, oh, well, yeah. What? But when Jamaica get beaten something, we have to be brethren. All I'm asking is that we will be fair. Teams are catching up, but we are catching up to some teams.
Management, can I address your point? Actually, Cataract's point was this. Mr. Speid made a blanket comment that at certain level we are world class. Cataract was pointing out examples that suggest that perspective may not be accurate. And secondly, management, I sit here objectively thinking, how can Mr. Speid make that statement when the players don't matriculate? If you think all our players at 15 foot are world class, at a minimum, 5, 6, 7 should be matriculating to world class levels, no matter what the restrictions are.
That's what we have been saying in cricket. Because at 16,
that point was made already.
He said
guys, no, you missed the point though. At 16, you go think about English players, a Saka, a Smith Rowe. At 16, no, management, listen, before you respond, listen. At 16, you'll reach a level where you're almost at that level you need to be at the adult basis.
But that's what he's saying, but that's why you missed that
coaching, Cranky.
We don't have the team to develop them. That's what we are saying.
Coach, I heard him. Let me respond. Regardless of the coach, guys at 16, all your development should almost be done. You're now moving to that next level. And no matter how much coaching, management, listen. You're talking about coaching. I agree, coaching is an imperative. But at that level, at that age, coaching should preclude some people from matriculating to be world class. It should not.
Let me help you, Cranky. If I have Usain Bolt at 15 and Asaf are Paul as 15. One are sent to Coach Minzy to coach. They have the same speed now at 15. One goes to Glen Mills and one goes to Coach Minzy Elite Track Club.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One goes to Racers and one goes to Coach Minzy's out at the McGrath field, football field, and they have to run on the grass out there. And the next one is at Glen Mills. For that year, his development goes way further than the person with Coach Minzy. They have the same talent level at 15.
That's not true.
No, hypothetically speaking.
No, but a bad example I used to choose.
Manix man. They're players. They're Manix man. There's the Partays. They're the Basumas. There are players that come out of African countries, Manix man, playing at world class level. We have limited, if none, that does that for Jamaica. Leon Bailey is the only player you can point to in the last number of years. We can say is at a certain level where we expect him to get to world class. We have no one else that was coming up.
Why?
What about Shaw?
Let me help you. Why, Cranky? Here's why. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of what we see in Jamaica up to the age of 15.
The guest is speaking.
Up to the age of 14, what we see in Jamaica is raw talent. With the parties in those places, they're already in an academy. A lot of the players, I will say this, let me finish. A lot of the players in Africa, they get developed in Europe, in France, and in other European nations. So at 14, they are in proper academies. At 14, it's just a Jamaican youth playing is really the street ball talent that causes us to compete a whole lot at that age. What I am saying is that if we had our 14-year-old in the same system that the guys had in France, they would have gone on. But because it is raw talent, they can compete. But after a while, talent is not enough.
Manix man, that is a good Manix man. That makes a lot of sense. But here's the point, Manix man. You have the trickling effect, right? Which is even with those restrictions, even with those challenges, Manix man, people still achieve the highest level, even with all you're saying, and we don't see it happening, Manix man. So when we make the blanket statement about all these kids are world class, Manix man, it doesn't stack up. It just doesn't.
But I never said they were world class. No, I want to clear this. I never said they were world class.
Something, Mr. Speed.
I said that they were as good as anybody in the world at that age. And
tell me they're world class at 14 then. They're world class.
I don't know if anybody's world class at 14.
No, world class at their level at 14. That's what I mean.
I'm saying that we had people just as good as those people at up to 16. I have the proof. I have played against them. You can say what you want to say, but I see them with my eyes, play football matches against them, and they are not better than us up to that age. And the result is good.
Let Manning's one. Just get a message in a Manning's one. The comment we make about the baller, Kaim Paris. The person is saying that is not true, and the baller not say nothing like that. So just a clear up part.
Listen, I want to say something.
But Mr. Speed.
Okay. So Paris. No. So what the person said is that Paris at no point feel anyway about not being in the side and have no reason to why he's in the side.
Alright, just leave it at that, man.
Brother. Coach means that you're sure if you want to come off, you can come off. Jared, no, man. Don't say that. Oh, man, I'm on the program on YouTube, but I said, I don't tell me enough to respond to it. Come on, man. Relax, man. Relax yourself from a Coach Minzy. Relax yourself. Coach Minzy wants to be silent. I will. Don't tell me to come off when somebody says something. Don't say that, man. Don't do that, brother. Don't pass the place. Don't try to raise up. Don't do that. Turn down your mic. Relax.
When I WhatsApp Paris, you don't answer me for 2 months. That
There you go, sir.
to get him to answer them so quick.
There you go. So make them go and talk and tell it.
But
Mr. Speed, on the issue of research.
Yes.
On the issue of research, Mr.
Manning.
Speed. I just have a quick question, formula, and it's actually related in a way to what you were saying. But let me just ask Mr. Speed. Mr. Speed, this question is just me raising a concern, and so several shows ago you were on with Manningsman, and I think Manningsman asked you a question about the Reggae Boyz logo. And at the time, I was supposed to be, Management, I was in the comment section, and you stated that, that it was your understanding, as far as you were aware, that the GFF owns the Reggae Boyz logo, right? So, I mean, I am, I am okay with that. So, but let me just ask you the following question, because I kind of did some research, and it's intriguing research, and it might be something that you should know or ought to know. And so let me tell you what I discovered. So I went to the US Patent and Trademark Office, and I also searched the EU equivalent. They also have a trademark and patent office equivalent, right? And my research revealed that the Reggae Boyz logo is actually, it doesn't say that it's owned by the GFF. It said that there is a pending application for ownership by a company located in Brussels, and that the company is called Business to Sports, right? Nothing necessarily improper with that. But my question was whether or not, to your knowledge, is the GFF affiliated with Business to Sports, right? And if so, right, if you're not aware of it, it's something that the GFF should look into to find out whether or not this company is earning royalties from the trademark, whether or not you guys need to defend your trademark. So I don't know. I just wanted to say this because, of course, we are all behind the GFF. We are all behind the Reggae Boyz. We support the organization. We all want the team to do well, and a big part of the team doing well is funding and earning revenue. So I just did some research, and from one media man to the, well, I don't know if I'm a media man yet, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because it might be something that the board should look into.
No, we actively looking into it. I still don't know because I try to stay in my lane as much as possible. And if you know the politics of football, I really stay in my lane as much as possible. So, so I don't know. But now that you said, I am going to talk to Gensec and ask him to look into it.
Yeah, so the company is located in Brussels, right? Yeah. And they have made an application. In fact, it appears that they own it in the EU, and there's a pending application based on their ownership in EU to the US Patent and Trademark Office for them to own it. And I think it's an important issue, as I said, because I know you guys have a kit deal with, is it Puma? If memory serves me correctly. So it's a real important issue.
No, it is because even our contracts with the players, we talk about trademark and rights, intellectual property rights, which they themselves is a party to it. So if we don't get those revenue, then they can't get it. So
yeah. Neo, how much that service cost? Because we have a check in the mail for you, Neo.
Listen, it is free of cost, right? The only payment I require is that we qualify for the World Cup.
Yes, thanks. This question that you have here, coach. The truth is, look here. I think I beat this one long enough. There's the guy that coached Switzerland and won the World Cup. I can't remember what his name. He came to Jamaica and he saw our 15, 14, 16-year-old playing, and he said, I have nothing like those when I win the World Cup at under 17. I mean, this is a guy testimony. The players that he was seeing here. And I think I connected the dots by telling you over and over that our best coaches up to 2 years ago were their qualification that they had is grassroots qualification. Their qualification that they had is only supposed to coach at the grassroots level, which is actually a C license. So you can see the problems that we have. And I think I connected that very well, and that is the reason why our players don't progress, because imagine you have a grassroots coach coaching somebody at the international level. And I keep telling you, one of the reasons why those teams in like St. Kitts, Curacao, start to compete with us. Remember, Curacao beat us in the last Caribbean Cup, you know.
Stefan Marini.
Right. Those people, they have pro license and them have A license. Oh, you going to come up against them when you with your little grassroots license. You know what a grassroots license is? You coach kids under 12 and you coach business house and any league that is not a promotional league. That is what a grassroots coach is. And that is the reason, Cranky, why the players cannot progress no more. Because the truth is, you become the real deal at about 23 if you're good. Maybe 25. You peak at about 28. So nobody at 16, 17, or 18 is not the real deal, you know. Nobody become the real deal as a teenager. Is when
unless you're Brazilian, Mr. Speid.
Like who? I don't know nobody. Unless you're Pele.
When you World Cup 17.
But remember, if he was the real deal still, he was everything. He was a complete package. So I'm saying nobody becomes a real deal till you're like low 20s if you start there early. So all of that years where you're supposed to be learning from 15, 16, 17.
Erling Allen.
Yeah, 1 and 2 come true, but the majority doesn't. So I'm saying those formative years when you're not nobody to carry to this next step, feature the moments, however become good. And that is the problem we have in Jamaica. So until we go down the route there, Belgium was ranked 66 in the world. Them start coaching education and rank number 1 now. Take them 20 years. It's a real thing. Don't gloss over it anymore.
No,
Mr. Speid,
I'm saying that coaching is not imperative because Spain has 2,700 UEFA A, and that's helped them into the tiki-taka stuff. I watched my alma mater play today. I must say they look very good. They have quality players.
Who is that?
There's only one alma mater. Mr. Speid, is a rhetorical question?
I don't know who.
Okay.
You know, you have some crazy school in town.
No, the best high school in Jamaica.
4 crazy schools you have in Jamaica. 4
the best high school in Jamaica, the most prominent high school, the one with the British history, is only one school. I'm not even saying who they are.
Wilmot.
We have no idea.
That's okay, because you don't know football in Jamaica, Cataract. I'm sorry, Formula, the best track team, school challenge, sports, the cult.
Challenge.
There's only one cult in Jamaica in high school.
Did you say school
challenge?
challenge?
Also.
There's only one challenge. It's called. Oh, there's only one. For us, a cult, we understand which school, man.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going up further.
Mr. Speid, we have a question for you from somebody in the diaspora.
Yeah.
That individual wants to know whether the federation has ever attempted to raise money through that medium, the diaspora.
There has been attempts, but it hasn't gone so well. And there have been people who wanted to partner with us for the same thing, and it hasn't gone so well. And even with the female ambassadorship, that is one of the ways that has probably worked the best. So yes, we have tried it.
Question, Mr. Speid.
And there's a question on screen to CC for him to read.
I think you had said something about
it. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's just a few.
Oh yeah. Mr. Speid, my thing is, because I've been saying it when I come on and I read the whole coaching scenario, right? This is why I said that a lot of persons are suggesting local coaches for the national job. And here you are just stating that even in our local sphere, we don't have enough qualified coach in order to get the local guys to a certain level. So that in and of itself suggests to me that we can't hire a local coach even for the senior men's national team. Because if we don't have enough local coaches to develop the talent that we have, how do we select a local coach to coach the senior men's national team to a senior World Cup, which is a much more difficult task than the younger guys, right? But my question, so I have heard a lot of older heads saying that this coach and that coach, but from my perspective, I see a lot of coaches that are recently been getting their license by JFF and the whole thing that JFF is trying to do, which I think is a very good thing that they're trying to uplift the coaches that we have locally to a standard that when we are selecting coach 10 years, 15 years from now, they are at a certain standard. But my question to you is pre the whole under 17 and the guys. I think we have the talent can compete with anyone at a certain level. But I want to know what is it that Cavaliers and like even Phoenix are doing because on the 2011 under 17 World Cup had 8 Cavaliers players.
9.
All right, let me get it wrong, but I know that they add up to that amount. So I'm wondering what it is that Cavaliers is doing correctly that is not being translated amongst the other semi-professional or professional clubs in the country.
Well, it's not us. Above does a good job. Portmore does a good job too of fostering youth development. And now you have Mount Pleasant. But it's not enough because, as you know, because of the percentages, even if those clubs do very well and spit out 2% each, it's just not enough for the country as a whole. So that 2011 team, when we had 9 players, we qualified for the World Cup. The best performance by any youth any team in the World Cup, any team that we have ever sent to the World Cup. But after that, it was said that Cavaliers have too much players in the team, so we're never able to have more than 4 players. But what we did was that their process that they would have gone through at 15 to play under 17 would have gone through that process at 12. Above we would have done it to people like Portmore. So we were way ahead of the national team in terms of identifying talent. And the same thing with Phoenix now. So that is really the difference. But then, we pick some of the time, as management was saying, and it's not, we at times we believe that some players wasn't picked because they were saying we had too much. So like a Chevron Marsh never played football at under 17 level for the national team. But when you see him play locally, he was way ahead of everybody else. Pim, everybody know about Pim from Georges. I mean, there was no better striker than Pim in Jamaica, but he never played either. So these clubs that I just named, they have a very good scouting system at the lower level. They go to the primary school and they scout from there, and that is why they are able to go abroad. Above has gone abroad and win youth tournament, international tournament, Portmore, Mount Pleasant, Cavalier, Phoenix, regular thing up to age 15.
So, Mr. Speid, you're saying that the quota system a mash up of football? Because I believe that if Cavaliers have the 10 best players in the island, at them for the under 17, under 20, business if the other clubs, Mr. Speid, is not producing the quality players. I don't care. Look at Barcelona and Spain. Barcelona had about 8 or 7 starting in the Spanish national team. So I don't care who have the most. Once if Cavaliers, Phoenix, whosoever have the most players at a certain level, it doesn't matter. They should be in the league. This thing, that is why I'm saying that this quota thing or this thing that one team have too much ball in our team. At that time, mash up the football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be unfair to anybody, but so like a Dunzel wouldn't even care. That is why he has qualified 3 youth teams to World Cup. Dunzel, he's a legend. A lot of people don't even have him like that, because he would pick the best people, not care what. I mean, if you remember the national team that he trained when they were playing the Caribbean Cup, Germany was front and center, ball and knock. Germany was the man that time, if you can always remember. He was the one who discovered the Abbeville player that died just a couple of days ago. What's his name? The leading all-time goal scorer. So, I mean, but everybody's different. But other coaches more believe that they have to even out the playing field like is all-star team. So some Jamaican teams pick like an all-star team instead of a national team. And it affects us. It happens all the time.
And Mr. Speid, to add to that, you made a telling point earlier about the players not doing well after 16. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of poor coaching.
Yeah.
So that is telling us then that there's a flawed system of progression. And if that system of progression is flawed, can we say that if we are not playing the best local players, we are wasting our time? Would that logic be ridiculous?
It's
Because
chicken.
if they are not good after 16, then why use them?
I didn't say they wasn't good. I said they didn't progress like their counterparts in the rest of the world. I didn't say they
Yeah, so
weren't good.
obviously, well, in our terms, Mr. Speed, we are going to say them not good if they not progress. So you
Right.
understand what I'm saying?
So what we are doing something about it, because we have now 24 B license coach who actually can coach. They know about the moments based on that course. And that course is really for elite youths and top amateurs still in our B license for elite youths and top amateurs. It's not for professional playing, but those people teach you how to coach. The A license now will line up 6 coaches to do the A license next year. And that is for really a semi-professional level.
Why is only 6?
Well, for one, it costs about 700,000 Jamaican dollar figure. So how much coach I got?
700,000 per Jamaican coach?
Yeah, 700,000 Jamaican dollar each. But that it costs. The B license costs 250,000.
Mr. Speed, can I ask a question?
No, me not finish.
Sorry.
Because
right.
if the coaches aren't up to par and they are not, let me use the term, progressing the way that they should be progressing at the level with the rest of the world, because if we are trying to prepare them for international market, then progression is not happening. So, is it a bad thing to start getting players for the senior team from, say, 17, 18?
No, we believe that you should probably have 2. That used to be our policy, that the senior team have 2 teenagers. It just kind of gone out the window. That is how Paris made the senior team initially at about 17. That policy was in place and it was seen as one of the best around. Remember, he's one of the youngest players ever play international football for Jamaica. But just to go back on the coaches thing. So the plan is, you need the B license coach to be almost like Rice Green in Jamaica.
I got interrupt you again. Dre, anyway, you are going to ask the next question because you move to possum in, brother. If you have a question for how long, you need to ask the question. Go ahead, Mr. Speed.
Right. So, and then once we have the A license coaches, those are the ones who's going to be teaching the B license, because you need a lot of them. You need like hundreds of them, 200 of them. Every Manning Cup and Dakar Cup coach should be a B license coach, because they are teaching top amateurs and pro and top amateurs and elite youths. So we have a progression, but the problem is, over the years we have always paid money that we can afford to overseas coach, to coach the national team. When they left nothing behind. So we have to cut that cycle, take leaks, and then improve. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
All right.
All right, Mr. Speed. Yes. So am I to understand that back in before the Costa Rica game, was there a letter drafted up for Mr. Whitmore?
There was no such letter. Is the corrupt media make up the letter? The corrupt media make up the letter. I had no such letter in my pocket walking along to El Salvador with not true. I did not go there to fire the coach. I went there to observe what was happening, because I never shared it.
Mr. Speed, why you look like you're trying to discredit the media, boss?
Yeah.
It seems to be a fly. But can I just ask one quick question in relation to the topic?
Gentlemen, we have to be more patient, gentlemen, because everybody have burning issues. And Mr. Speed is the only person where I show up on them platform. I see we got 5.5 hours in the field.
Mr. Speed standing on his feet answering the questions. Congratulations.
And him stand up long, So, but this have to do with one question. We're gonna have formula then cataract. So, Mr. Speed, I want to do that license,
Which one?
How me get selected for do it?
Which one?
No, the new one that come up, man, the 750,000.
A? Well, first you have to have a B license, right? Because it's a progression. You have to have a B license, then
No,
you
but
can
on a
get.
serious note, what is the criteria? So
All
the
right,
B
so this is
license
the
appear
general. This is
first.
the general criteria.
Mm-hmm.
To do the B, you have to have a C license, and you have to have it for at least a year practicing. To do the B, right? No, no, Jamaica don't really have the C, you know. We have an advanced level 2, and it's not really equivalent to the C, you know. That's how bad we are, you know. So a lot of these people, the advanced level 1 and level 2, have to go to the C, right? Of course, one is coming up in a week time, a C license. But it's hard to get in because you get the Premier League teams first and you get national coaches first preference. The B license now, you have to have the C for a year practicing before you can get the B, and the B you have to have again another year before you can do the A. So we have 24 people who have the B for about 3 years. So we're going to select 6 out of that for the A license. So it's difficult until we start to teach it here. It's difficult, but where you can set up yourself up, Coach Minzy, is the B. We have a B coming up in our first quarter of 2022. So once you have a advanced level 2, we'll allow you to do the B.
Okay. Formula, quickly.
Yeah, quickly, in relation to when Mr. Speid was speaking about the quality of our teenagers, right? And him basically using his situation with Cavaliers to, judge and to, as a reference point, so
How
to
about
speak.
View and Portmore and all of them will beat up teams overseas? I don't know.
All right, cool. So my question is, are these the best youngsters that we're bringing, the best youngsters in Jamaica? Are these the best youngsters that we are taking to these international jurisdictions to play against the best, the very best youngsters in those respective jurisdictions? Or is it what I am seeing, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're playing against a very small sector of the respective talent in other jurisdictions. So is it fair to say that if that's the case, is it fair to say that our teenagers are better than teenagers in other jurisdictions, generally speaking? If you understand the question.
Right. So I understand. So I can only go by evidence that I have, and me I'll be even be flawed. But if you look at this 7 tenets of the game, right? First one is running. You surely, me and you know, say up to 16, you're not nobody in the world that can keep up with us, right? We agree. Although running is not just running fast, it's running onto the ball, running with the ball. There's a whole concept of running. But just think of that one alone. Think about our physicality and strength where we have. That again, it comparable. Most Jamaicans, them control is distinct, right? Which is another tenet, right? We might not pass so well because we're not practicing. Dribbling, we have some of that. Just kicking the ball, usually we have power. Heading, right? The one where we excel at, not dribbling, but more conducting, where you can kick and run down. If you look at all of those tenets of the game, right? Which is the key things, if you do under pressure, we probably come out better than most other kids in the world with both 4 of them. And that is why we are able to do what we do at that age group. So when I go to Sweden, we go for 1 week, we sleep in a school, and we have 8 back after 1 week. When I talk to my counterpart, they say, so we come from a tournament in Spain last week, we come here so this week, and next week we are go to Germany. But we have to turn back and come to Jamaica because we don't have no more money. So that is the point where I try get into everybody to understand their development process in the summer is these people have money and they wear it all and they must keep traveling around, developing these players, playing against different people with better coaches. And then by the time them do it at 16 and 17 and 18, and you look at their passport, me can't care about the set up me care at 17, me can't carry them back at 18, me have to carry one new set again come up there. So that is really what is happening. And them just progress and leave us behind. Also, you have coaches, because I'm in the business of football in Europe. When these people are there playing, coaches start coming and start jot down name, then start track them, then talk to them. You have a million agent over there that say, say if you do A, B, C, and D, I can make it turn a millionaire. You can buy a Porsche, you can buy a house up on the hill. That's the difference with our player as against a player who is overseas in a developed country, that football is actually a sport, is actually a business, and not like how we take it recreationally out there. So these are the things that I see for myself and know what is happening. And when I travel, I know why the progress are leave us.
So, Mr.
I'm not
I'm
Speed,
going to pass over to somebody else, but I'll know Mr. Speed now answer a question.
Oh, yeah, question. Sorry. What your question?
Boss, I asked it previously. I'll know you answer it, boss.
My question. Sorry.
Mr. Speed, I asked you. Sorry to cut. I think it was cranky, but Mr. Speed never answered my question.
Ask, man.
I asked you, from what I am seeing, tell me if I am wrong. From what I am seeing, it's a case where our best youngsters in the country are going on these international trips overseas to play in these competitions. Are we playing against a very small sector of players in these jurisdictions that we're going to play these tournaments, or are we playing against the very best in these? Because when you guys go on, like for instance, Tottenham is playing Cavaliers, right? The Tottenham Academy is just a very small, very small sector of what England has to offer. Are we playing against the very best in England? That's what I'm asking.
Right. And Tottenham is one of the best, yes. But when I go to the Gothia Cup, let me talk about the Gothia Cup. They go all over the world and invite the best teams. So they go to Right to Dream from Africa. Then I can't remember the rest of them, 2 teams from Africa. They go all over the globe and invite the best team. It's an invitational tournament. They came here and look at us play before they invite us. So even when we as a matter of fact, is after we beat Tottenham Hotspur, them start to say, roll on. One team from Way beat Tottenham Hotspur. They said, we want to see this team. Is so the organizer of the Gothia Cup came to Jamaica and then saw us play and then said, no, well, you can come. So, and there was a team from France. There was a team from Spain. And if the guy is dealing with Standard, 2 teams from Africa, Right to Dream, who own a club now in Belgium, I think. I don't know. They own some other club because they do so well with that academy. So I am going to say the Gothia Cup is a very good representative of what some of the best players in Europe. Yes. I'm not going to say it's what it is, yeah.
So, Mr. Speed, I want to follow on from Manningsman. I'm glad he asked the question before me. Because I am not a lazy journalist. Mr. Speed, in 2017, wasn't it the Bahamas Tottenham Hotspur that you played? And not the Tottenham Hotspur?
I don't know who. All I can tell you that the team named Tottenham.
According to CBS,
no, I don't know if
it's the Bahamas Tottenham Hotspur.
No, the team never come from Bahamas.
I know. Mr. Speed, according to CBS.
With CBS.
You don't know CBS?
No, with CBS.
Media. In 2017,
Big US
Bahamas Tottenham Hotspur FC, right? In 2016, you did play Tottenham Hotspur FC. I really just wanted to have a request for you the next time you come. Is it possible? Come up, I'm being a responsible journalist. That you see the 2016 team, they play the actual Tottenham Hotspur, right? But after that is the Bahamas Tottenham Hotspur. But for the Cayman Cup, I want to ask if, for our sake, you can provide us with the next time or anytime you can forward the coach. I'm interested to know who the 11 starting players were for Tottenham Hotspur. No, man, you must have the team sheet and those things. Those are records, coach. Come.
Why would I come on a program and carry 11 starting players?
No. I'm not saying to you. Hold on, coach. Listen to me. You said to ask the questions. I'm asking at an alternative time. I am just interested to know because I want to match how our players developed versus the 11 that we beat. Whether those are the.
Sorry, you said we beat the real Tottenham Hotspur 1 year.
Yeah, man. Yes.
So what you talk about the next?
No, man. No, hold on. I am just saying that in the 2016. That's why I'm asking, because I want
really
us
that
to be.
come on.
No, hold on now. No, you said to ask the hard question. So I'm asking in the future.
That's a hard question.
But at some point, no man, you have the thing. We want to match the development. I want to look at how our players develop. Who was there? Let me if I can read correctly. Dwayne Busy Atkinson, Orville Smichael, Michael Allen, O'Keefe Cunningham, Roger Baines, Khalif Richards were among the players. And you'll be familiar with those names. I just want to look at their development.
Right. So Atkinson's playing a Premier League team. They have him as the best young attacking player in Jamaica now. They think so. Khalifa Richards play for KC, still play for KC now, him and the team that look at him when I win the Manning Cup. The next one you call Migrate. Dwayne Allen played for KC till last year and can't play anymore in Ola now. He's with the Premier League squad. So
which Premier League squad? Okay, Cavalier. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's Roger Barnes.
Roger Barnes gone on soldier.
And Michael Allen.
Baines. Yeah, we spoke
Baines. Michael Allen you spoke to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm interested in the Spurs team that they.
And the other one play for JC. The other guy you can't play for JC, but he migrate now from overseas.
Okay. And I also want to point out that where your argument was flawed in terms of your causal thing is that Gillingham FC, which is a League One team, beat Harbourview.
So let me
tell you why the argument is flawed, because you pointed out that while it's absolutely correct that Cavaliers won, they beat Tottenham Hotspur amongst other teams. Not only one picture they had.
And for love.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. Harbourview, the report said, struggled throughout the tournament and they lost. So we have to be balanced, because you have a cause and effect.
Harbourview might not have been strongest at that time, but Harbourview has won other international titles. That's what I was saying at the youth level. What's wrong with that? Them must come good this week.
Mr. Speed, I have a question for you.
Let me, Cranky.
Speed, I have a question for you. Mr. Speed, for the program to progress, right, we have to be innovative. We have to think outside the box. You mentioned having 13 parishes who elect the board, right? Who elect members of the board. You mentioned that may be expanded. My question for you is this. Have you thought about how best you can leverage the global Jamaican community to help the program move forward? So, for example, in the UK nowadays, and I know you don't like to use the first world countries or developed countries as examples.
Why you say that?
You mentioned it a couple of times.
We use them for our coaching. So
okay. So the question I ask is this: for example, a lot of the teams, in reacting to the disapproval by the community around the ESL, when they're trying to find a Super League, have now all these advisory boards of fans, whether it's informal or substance, doesn't matter. Have you thought about a construct such as that, which is an advisory community of informed parties for the JFF to help the JFF as they go through?
Yeah, well, we tried to have the Reggae Boyz fan club. I don't even know what happened to it, so I don't want to comment. But
can I make a quick comment, Mr. Speed?
Yeah.
Actually, it paragraph. Hold on. You know that the bylaws specifically create a means by which the JFF can allow a group or an individual to participate in the board of directors without a vote as an observer, right? So you can actually have somebody as an observer. They can't vote, but they can come in and observe what's going on, just like Cranky is saying that they have done the English I know not the English FA, but the clubs,
Premier League teams, some of the clubs.
Right, the Premier League teams. They have done that. I'm just telling you that what Cranky suggests is actually specifically mentioned in the bylaws, and I'm trying to look at the particular thing. I think it's paragraph 14. But I just had to point that out. So go ahead.
No. Well, two things. I didn't know that because I didn't read it. But like myself, I am on the board, but I'm a non-voting member. I don't vote. And also Dennis Chung don't vote. But we give advice.
Right.
So it is not strange what Cranky is suggesting for that to happen. But what I think in most cases, nobody is going to go to them way to do it. I think what should happen is that this body should form themselves, become responsible, then come on have a talk with the JFF. I don't think the JFF is the one who's gonna, form. I don't think the English people did. They form their own body, then they come and talk. Isn't that
Yeah.
Right. So do it. Go ahead. Fine.
Okay, since nobody else have a question, let me jump in, please, just quick. You never go quick enough, Ketrag.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Speid. So, Mr. Speid, I posted a question in the chat section concerning oh my goodness, I need to find it. Yes. So the USA Soccer Federation, right? They have created a company called the Soccer United Marketing. And basically what happens is that, they have their own non-profit football federation, but they created a subsidy called Soccer United Marketing. And that is a for-profit company, right? And so that company's sole goal, unlike the non-profit, which is the federation, that subsidiary is a profit-making entity. And their sole goal is to raise money for the federation. And so my question to you is, has the JFF ever given thought to getting something like this? I mean, a group of individuals in the private sector whose sole goal is to make money, and they'll basically be earning a commission based on how much money they can make. So they have an incentive to make that money, to look into your trademark, to look into your deals, to expand marketing, to secure broadcasting rights, stuff like that. My suggestion is, to you, respectfully, is, I think that's a good model, and I'm just wondering if the JFF has ever looked into something like that.
Right. So, the Premier League, the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, is one such model.
All right.
We've got private people, Christopher Williams and Lloyd Distance and Nadane. These are not football people to be independent directors and head of that organization. So the JFF gave them the commercial right and said, go and market it. And we all know what happened. Look, it have issues too, but
I
it is
agree.
like 3 times better than what we had before.
So when they earn money, does some of that money come back to the JFF?
No, all of that is stayed in the professional body. If we ever make excess money, it is for development. Because one of the charge that JFF gave the Premier League clubs is that talent identification is part of your remit, governance, and the commercialization of the sport. So those are the 3 remit that JFF hand over to them for them to
right.
deal with.
But the entity that I was referring to, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No. I was coming to that. So
okay.
After the success of that entity, we looked at forming another entity to just deal with the World Cup qualifier for both the male and the female. And we even had a name for it, right? Credible. So we looked through it, but the person that we could find to do it, who wanted to do it, it was inconvenience at the particular time. We couldn't find independent people to edit up, and that is why it is not a reality. But we looked at it, we finished how we could operate everything, but we need to be personal.
Just finishing the question. Not a question, just finishing. At this moment, you have eyes from England, from the United States, from Jamaica, from all over the globe, looking at our football program. If there is any time to form this type of entity and to exploit all those markets, the time is now. That's what I had to say. So I just
all right. Brilliant.
Yeah, Mr. Speid, 2 questions. I know we're closing off in another 5 minutes. 2 questions. Will there be a camp? 1, 2. When and how can we get some of the brilliant minds on this panel a part of the JFF, so we can help the football?
A camp for what?
for the game that is coming up?
Oh,
The
I don't,
national team, a national team
I don't
camp.
know because we only have days, and based on what I think the team might be. They'll pick the team tomorrow, so it's days. I don't know if we'll be able to get a camp, but we're trying. The thing is also we have the girls, they're under 17, under 20 in the camp now, so I don't know if we have enough space, and as you know, hotel is very expensive, so I'm not sure if we're going to get a camp, but we're going to try. Oh, in the JFF now, if you want them, the only sure way you can get in the JFF, if you're going to a parish and become the president, as how it stands right now, right? Otherwise, somebody have to recognize your ability and invite you to sit on the board. So far, there's only two positions. One is taken by me, and the other is by Dennis Chum. That is not a parish president. And then you have the three vice president and the president. So you'll have to get one of those positions to get in there. Otherwise,
Okay.
you guys could serve on a committee. Now you know that they have technical, they have finance, they have competition, women committee. So those are committees that you could serve on to try and help. And again, the board actually have to ratify you if you want to serve on those committees. So if people here, like me have a vacancy for my technical committee. So if people here really want to serve, just tell me where you'd like to be. I'm see if it can work. Can't promise anything.
All right. Last question from me, then we take Manning's man, and then we probably can just close out. If we in the diaspora would contribute money, how many more B license coach can you get to go for their A license?
What? If you have money, send the money come. Because look here. I don't believe it's the fields is a problem, right? It's a problem, but I don't believe the fields. I believe that coaching is the key to solving our problem.
Well, I'm a colleague one challenge you still, Mr. Speed, because they must say it's all about disseminating information. Because you can't get to the highest level and you can't teach.
No, but everybody know that what we want to have is a lot, so then the cream can rise outside. That's how it goes.
Fair enough.
So to me, coaching, education, and club license are the two key. And those are what we focus on to make sure it's
Money, go ahead.
The fields are an issue, Mr. Speed. The fields are a major issue. The field, because the field hampers the movement or the ways
that the African play on.
Mr. Speed, that's about the technical.
The African play on.
Mr. Speed,
why can I speak to what the Africans play on?
Mr. Speed,
but Tremaine Stewart himself said it before he passed.
No, Mr. Speed.
Tremaine Stewart in an interview said it. Right, on a major platform. The fact of the matter is the fields do hamper development when the ball cannot move, right, quickly. I mean, we're talking, it's so many issues. Muscle memory, right? The muscle memory is expecting a bounce, right? When you go on a decent field, the bounce is not going to take place. So the muscle memory isn't sharp enough to move the ball as quickly because we're not used to the ball being moved as quickly.
I have to teach you something tonight. Don't forget this. There's 10 moments in football, right? You need to know what to do in the 10 moments. Not care whether if they feel good or bad, you need to know what to do in the 10 moments. If you don't know, you get yourself into serious trouble when you come up against any form of quality. It's not the field is the most important thing. Is you have to know how to play in the moments. Just remember me telling you that.
Yeah, but Mr. Speed,
you need a coach.
Affects things like ball control and them things there.
Formula. Make we hear Mannings though, because the show are done. We don't want to start up our next conversation. But me kind of agree with you. But it is not the most important. You should be able to teach coaches at a higher level to disseminate information. Mannings, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, still, you know, when the artists are going to close the show, the man them for no.
You're not close the show. You just have to go ahead quickly.
But first, let me you know that coach, you know, so we come on the show, and while I was here, you know, because it just get shot up on the trap, you know, and right at the Mannings Hill Road right there, so you understand me. But Dre, my apologies.
Sorry for that, man.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gone, you know. But my apologies. So that's why I can't go to bed yet, because you understand, I have to deal with that. But Dre, my apologies here. a cataract cause it to happen. But my apologies, no excuses, right? Because I'm under an interrupt thing. But here's what I say now, people. Let me talk to you about this. You see, here's my
Ghana name
position.
zone now, you know.
Yeah, cause headspace, right, you know. Here's my thing. You see, at the senior level, I have no opposition to the composition of the squad. Talking about where you're born is not a factor to me. In the composition of the squad. You see, except that for you to be selected on a team, if you're playing outside of Jamaica, and I have a talent in Jamaica, my position is that you have to be better. If both of you are at the same level, some part of me as a coach would want to bring you in my system to make you better because you have less opportunities too. That would be my assessment if I'm a coach. Next coach is a different. I see at the junior level, just follow me, at the junior level, I think it's very complicated because there are two things to bear in mind, right? I believe if we were to go to England and all the persons in the United States and in England and even in Holland, like I said to you, I know there are 7 persons in Holland now who are connected. I didn't know that the Jamaican population in Holland is large, right? So there are 7 Jamaicans that are around between 15 and 17 that, based on what I've heard, if they were to come to the under 15, under 17, they would definitely be in the side. I have no doubt that they would be in a 23-man squad. And I believe that at any given time, if we go to England and all the Jamaican connected people come out, we could have a squad of persons born in England of 23. However, though that is realistic, I think it can be problematic in terms of how do you consistently do that and local football is developed. All I want to do is for one forum, persons kind of help me to understand how do we take the best under 15 who will be definitely be in England and still develop football and keep youths encouraged. That's all I'm asking, you know. I'm not making the choice. I'm just asking the question for it to be looked at in terms of football development if you cause youngsters to become disinterested in the sport that is already happening. And I'm saying this because I have to go into places now where there's no football being played on the street. So the opportunities to play football are getting lesser and lesser in Jamaica because of crime. And we have to look at the reality. So when you see 10 youngsters playing football in a community right now, you have to lift your hats to them because they're playing under conditions that normal kids are not supposed to play under. And you don't want to take that away. So all I want to know is for us to have a forum where we can looking at all of those players born outside of Jamaica, but still finding a way to keep the youngsters in Jamaica who want to play the sport involved. And I think we are more concerned about getting the best while not looking at the conditions of the others. And that is where I want the conversation to also go. What are we going to do to keep them? And this is not the forum, but I want to raise it because when I hear that, I'll become satisfied in terms of my whole position on concerning the 13-year-old and the 12-year-old and the 14-year-old. I don't want to call in the community, right? That one that is there. How do we do that, like I said, and keep them enthused? What are the plans to do that? That's what I want to find out on the next forum. So I'll put it out there. So
All
brilliant minds like Cranky and Neo and Cataract and Dre and Formula and, you know, not CC, but Coach Minzy can think about it.
All
That's
right.
it.
Coach,
So
Coach,
Cataract and hold on, Cataract and everybody else that is going to speak, we want to do it as short as possible. Mr. Speid has been on for quite some time, and if you notice, he has been standing. All of us are sitting, and he has been standing for over 3 hours.
Coach, that's a good thing, Coach. It's healthy to do that. No,
Yeah,
I'm
man,
not
I know,
serious.
especially for men,
ask,
especially for men, especially for men. Go ahead, Cataract.
people have their mics open. I'm going to give a commentary. This is a forum to ask. I will tackle Manning's man at an appropriate time because his early retraction was the facade. Coach, Mr. Speid, I have a very important question, a totally different matter. But I don't know if you can be able to finish it, but I know you're going to say it is not in your wheel well. But I want to ask, what has happened to the tickets that are allocated for away fans for the World Cup qualifying that has not been made available to the away fans, i.e. the Jamaicans, for the matches that have just passed, except Mexico that had a stadium ban? I have been asking repeatedly and I have not gotten an answer. I've called the JFF and not gotten an answer. And I have been unable, especially the last game, the one away to El Salvador,
I wonder if
to
you get
go
on,
and cheer my team. And those of us in the ultras, we are very concerned. We're not making a deal about it to embarrass the federation, but we know that every federation is giving away tickets. And just to tell you, in closing, please make those calls and contacts. Even if you don't need a friend now, injuries, COVID, and other things might mean that the players that you're depending on may or may not be available. We have seen a number of players with season-ending injuries, particularly in many leagues, particularly in England, league that I watch. But the away fans ticket, and I urge you to make those calls. Kyle Walker Peters is the name. Lewis Baker, just reminded that again.
I don't know what happened to the ticket, if there's any. These are different times. There's nothing normal about these times. I know if you come to the matches and you want a couple tickets, I know we have access to it. We can give anybody a couple tickets, but
no man, meaning a whole arrangement to
but I don't
so
know.
that we know.
I don't know.
God.
Those
So
people, those people, I
Yeah.
look back at the video tomorrow, jot down the names, and pass it on to the coach, see if he need them.
All right. So, formula,
Bless
30
up.
seconds.
Yeah, man, I just want to say big thank you and a big shout out to Mr. Speid. You know, it's difficult to get other members of the Jamaica Football Federation to have a conversation with them. So the mere fact that Mr. Speid is available is a pretty big deal, and I think Reggae Boyz fans like myself and others in the comment section, you know, really do appreciate it. And I want to also big up the federation on its emphasis for developing, you know, the coaching education aspect of I think it's
30
very
seconds, 30
important,
seconds.
and we're heading in the right direction. Quickly, can I get an update on Busy Atkinson's trial in Spain?
Well, when we reach, we realize there's a 4th division team and not even a 3rd. He wasn't going to sign for that team, and the team was struggling at the bottom of the league, so it could be 5th division next time. So I told him to come home, so he's back here.
CC.
I'm not hearing him.
Yeah, we might know that management.
30
yeah,
seconds,
man,
and I'm going to mute you if you're not finishing at 30 seconds, people.
yeah, bless up. No, as I said, still the night was good, and thank you, Mr. Speid, for answering my questions and everything that I have to say. I don't really have much other than the question that I've asked before, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man, respect, man. That's
All right. Neo, resident attorney.
So, Mr. Speid, again, thanks for taking the questions, and I just want to restate Formula what he said about you appearing on the show and taking all the questions on your feet. My compliments to you for doing that. Mr. Speid, because you've appeared and taken these questions, and you have done so over and over again, and you've spoken to people on these on the social media stuff. I just have to say to you that I hope that you consider running for president. All right. So I hope that you consider running for president, and I hope you consider making some other reforms, because at the very least we know that you're open to conversation, you're open to reasoning, and you're open to talking to the people who love the football as much as you do.
Thank you, sir.
Jerry, anyway, that.
Big up Mr. Speid for joining us again. Don't know. Big up yourself all the time. Big up everybody in the comment section, the chat section. We have one more night to go tomorrow. Man, big up yourself, said we don't know our family. Got you them thing there. So, Mr. Speed, real quick, just pass on information to the gaffer about the 3 big players them over here, and then we just get back to any one of us, Cataract, Minzy, Management, and then we can get an interview, fast track, for the paperwork that's needed, and make things go through fast, quick and fast. We have the link over England.
No problem. But that's 7 player a year, though, not 3.
No, man. 3 man. Walker Peters, Baker, and Demari Gray.
And Cranky's closing the show and giving the official voter tags. All right, so big up to Mr. Speed. As we said before, Mr. Speed is always open to conversation. He's not shy to come on these platforms and engage the fans, which is very, very important. So, Mr. Speed, I put it to you that you need to tell the other members of the hierarchy that they need to start to engage the fans. Because when you have a fans by your side, brethren, it goes a far way and it argues well for you. You cannot come ask the fans if you come support and you're afraid to talk to the fans.
Agree.
This
I
is
will
what
tell
I'm
you.
saying. All right, and yeah, man, big up to everybody. And me here say, Anthony Grant a public apology, so we are waiting on that before the show end. Saying too old and him not good at that. So me see some commenting at the comments.
I know why the person said, I never said no good. I didn't say that part.
So if you want apology, you know you can do it still. You're not going to shy away from that.
I apologize to him a long time.
Okay, okay, cool. All right, so Cranky, take it away. Then we drop the style and flavor.
So, Mr. Speed, I think the panelists all echo my perspective around you being here, staying for the entire journey. Your phone actually worked for the entire journey this time with your computer, whatever it is. You keep mentioning this Gensec. I don't know if it's a new drink or something. I've never heard of Gensec come out and speak. Maybe I'm not in the environment where he speaks. Our goal, as Coach alluded to, and everyone's saying, is that there is always a good thing when you can manage the information that's out there about you, when you can actually engage, when you can disseminate, when you can actually think about who your constituent is and engage your constituent. We have over 300 and plus people still in the chat at my time, 1:19 a.m., just past my bedtime, but I stayed up because the conversation was engaging. And
we're also at 1:19.
1:19 a.m. Yes, that's what my computer says. I'm not sure what yours says, money.
We're all on the same time zone.
I'm at 19 past 1.
Okay, so good. So you're at the same time I am. I don't track time anymore.
I am 1:19.
So if I can finish, please. But Mr. Speed, the whole concept of how we engage in today's world is different from, as you know, from how we engaged previously. This whole view that the traditional media is becoming obsolete, frankly, because their news is dated, how they engage is dated, and people have to adapt the environment they're operating in. So we do appreciate you being here and engaging with us, and frankly, receptive to taking the difficult questions and trying as best as you can to answer those questions. So we do appreciate it. We also would appreciate, at least from where I sit, here's my view, which is, I understand some of the challenges that you face as an organization about developing football in Jamaica. But I also understand that fans want to win. And as Manning Man said, it's very important to marry the two. So when we have players like an Antonio or Calvin Phillips who reach out to us and we just don't reply to them and they go play for England, I get upset about that. So what it suggests to me, if we really were thinking deductively and holistically and about where we're trying to get to, those players will be in our program. We'll be able to compete at a global level, at a very high level, not just trying to compete. And the players who we're trying to develop would actually have something to aspire to, would actually also be seen, no matter what people say about who would dominate your teams. It would create an avenue for them. It would give them exposure and get them more access than what we have today. So my suggestion to you is we sort of rethink how we operate, rethink how we think, be much more innovative at what we do, bring more intellectual capital into your program to allow us to foster, grow, and maximize the potential that we have. So again, thanks for being here with us. And more importantly, thanks for those who are in the comments, because you make us do what we do. and we welcome what you do, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we can continue this dialogue. I think it's important for us to move the football forward. And this is only a microcosm of the society in general. And as I've said before, what we should be doing is think about the Jamaican community as global versus local. So thank you. And everyone, thanks and good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Big up
Respect.
everybody.
All right, cool.
Your style and your flavor make the city rock. They must say the season come out with a bang. Coach Minzy, best round here. Remember that.